Lost you. Oops, what's going on?
Hello, hello. We are live. I am here with the wonderful Campbell Autodidactic and the beautiful and amazing Michelle Gibson.
Hello, hello.
Campbell, you gotta mute it on your YouTube.
There we go.
Ah, what have I done? Hang on. Oh, it started. Whoops.
Oh,
Hey,
sorry.
Bernie,
Yeah.
I look like the StreamYard duck right now. There. Here we go.
Hey.
Is that me that's playing background music, or?
Yeah, someone. Oh, maybe.
Oh. Hello, everyone in chat. This is, sorry, we're a bit late. We're a little bit unorganized, I think. Who have we got here? Sean Dworkin. Hello, Slim Pickings.
There we go.
G, New Normal. Eric, how you going? New West Reset.
Hey.
It all moved. Capalicious. Hello, the wild dog of Crazy World. Henry Maldonado. Is that right? Frank James, Scotty, Seeking Sapientia. Nice. Edna Bell, Corky Goss, Natalie, Ringen, 1314. Hello, everyone. Tommy, Crystal Farm Road, Truth Seeker. Hope you're all having an awesome day.
Is it gonna play all of that delay and then it doesn't work when we start? My goodness. All right. Well, sorry, scrapping the intro that I was trying to do.
Is this my grand intro?
Oh, there we go. There I am.
I spent
Okay.
days making that.
Intro for all of us.
Spent days on that.
We are here now. We are streaming to Autodidactic YouTube, my Bernard Conkin YouTube, and not this week, but the next time we have the three of us together, it will also be streaming to Michelle's channel as well. And
we'll see my amazing intro.
Yes,
it took
exactly.
Me months to make. Months,
all condensed into, well, hopefully we can edit
hour
it actually after we're done the stream. But we will let you take it away, Michelle. You're gonna start leading us off with the recent history that gives evidence towards how our history has been rewritten, I do believe.
Thank you for the intro. Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
History.
Let me see here. Okay. And I don't think I'm going to have any audio to share. Did that pull up what it needed to pull up?
Yeah, it's yours that is, you got it.
Oh, yep, got you now, yep.
Can you see that okay?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. So I really do have a lot of material that I can cover on a lot of things. So narrowing it down is a little challenging, but when we were talking before the show started about what to talk about, I had already in my mind wanted to share some of my findings in the series that I've been working on called Seeing History with New Eyes since 1945. And I've really been looking at the patterns that show us how we got to the world that we live in today, what's been going on. And, you know, it's like 2020 hindsight. When you know how to interpret the information from the past, a whole lot more comes out than when you're just living through it. So I'm 58. I was born in 63. You know, so I've been living through what's been going on since that time. And I'm a little too young for Vietnam. I remember it, but not too well. A little too young for the Beatles. But what's interesting is I haven't followed mainstream media for a long time. So I followed alternative media, and I've received a lot of information that way. And so that's kind of helped me frame a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing now with the backstory that most people don't know about because it's not what we see when we turn on the news or read the newspaper. And I'm going to start with this this information in this blog post from 1990 to 1993. So I started this series in 1945 to 1960. Then I looked at 61 to 1980, 1981 to 1989, and then I started this new series in 1990. And what I found prior to 1980 is that there were a lot of civil wars, things going on in other parts of the world. They looked to be deliberately caused for that outcome. And then in 1981 is when there were numerous assassination attempts. AIDS showed up in the collective consciousness. Terrorist attacks started. Suicide bombing started. Planes were being blown out of the sky or crashing into mountaintops. Weather, violent weather all over the place. And quite honestly, I'm finding that pattern repeating every year consistently since 1981 up to the present day, basically. And so what came to my mind when I'm looking at just incident and data after data after data about these things taking place that's beyond statistically significant, it really looks like there's been this warfare against us without us even knowing about it, because I know when I was going through the beginning of my adulthood in 1981 when I graduated from high school, I never thought anything other than this stuff was just happening randomly and so on and so forth. Plane crashes, and I think it was in 1982, there was a big plane crash in Washington, D.C., where it was in January, and this plane landed in the Potomac River near the 14th Street Bridge. I was living in that area at the time. I vividly remember it. And that kind of took the news of the day. But on the same day, there was a subway crash in Washington, D.C., the Washington Metro. Very same day. There were months where there was like 4 or 5 plane crashes in the same month. And that's just a lead in to say this pattern is repeating over and over again, that something bad could happen to us at any time, at any place, going out to a disco or going to a soccer match or football match, bombs taking out people that are eating dinner somewhere. This stuff is starting to show up all over the place. So, now I see it as being deliberate. Living through it, no, not so much. I don't, it's just more like a scary fear kind of thing. But that's been our lives. That's what we've been taught is normal. And I'm saying that's not normal. It's not the way it's supposed to be or should have been. It's not our destiny to
right. And it's like I'll never forget in my anthropology classes in university how they tried to say that humans are a brutal war civilization by nature, and just like my own like spiritual intuition and being like, no, we are not. That is absolutely false. It is programmed into us, and like, no, just no.
Yeah, and so
Mm-hmm. Put a baby in a pen with a kitten. What does it do? Does it rip it apart? It plays with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's not who we are,
No,
and
yeah.
And yet our history in the last 40 years is just replete with this kind of thing. So I just wanted to start here at the Manchester prison riot, and this took place on April 1st starting April 1st of let's see what I want to say. This is probably 1990. Okay.
Is it 90s? Oh my gosh.
So it's also known as Strange Ways Prison. So that's kind of an interesting name. We think it's just a name, right? But it's called spelling for a reason. And
Yeah, I was
so
just going to say,
it's
got to sign everything.
So yeah, you've got to look at everything as information as opposed to, oh, well, that's just a cutesy name for it. So for 3 weeks, prisoners took control of the prison. Well, check out this prison. Nice brickwork there. The guys make it up to the roof. They trash the prison. Number end up dead, or one ends up dead, a lot of injuries, 55 million pounds to repair the damages. This is what the prison looks like on the outside. Okay. And, for those that have studied mud flood, that's a pretty characteristic feature.
That just looks like, they just needed to spend that extra $1 million to put the extra architecture and the trim around the windows there for all of those penned up prison mates. It makes perfect sense.
So you've got the beautiful brick
Bernie,
wall.
they might become offended, okay? If they were putting just, plain surroundings, they could become offended. People could walk past and misgender them and all this kind of stuff.
Right. So anyway, you've got this beautiful old world architecture, the tower in the background. It was said to have been designed in Victorian Gothic architectural style by Alfred Waterhouse, opened in 1868. And this is what it looks like from above. And then you're still getting this interesting looking wall going on here. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's the first penitentiary, isn't it? Is that the one that was the first penitentiary?
It looks like
because they started putting people in pens, like separating the prisoners. Is that one?
And I'm not really sure to answer your question, but what I can tell you that it's very clear that these original old world buildings were turned into prisons and museums and schools. And they went from having some beautiful purpose on the Earth's grid system to becoming a control mechanism. And a really good example of that is coming up here. So this is the Manchester Assize, or Size, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, court building, which is built right next to Strangeways Prison, supposedly by the same guy between 1859 and 1864. Well, look at that beautiful cathedral window right there. I wonder what that is. We're taught that would be like a cathedral.
And it's the most likely those three arches are the solstices and the equinox. The sun should align to those on those days in those archways.
So you've got this beautiful architecture that's the court right next to the prison. And I think that's where they sentenced people to death and stuff like that, if I remember correctly. But it got blitzed during World War II. And so they had to demolish it. Imagine that. This is the court.
I've never heard that story before. Is that new?
So that's what it looked like before it was hit by bombs between 1940 and 1941. And sadly, that's the fate of a lot of this older architecture. And I've really come to believe that was the purpose of the wars, was to get rid of this stuff.
Right? Like your interview with what channel was
100%.
it there? But you guys brought up, like, in the Vietnam War and the Korean War, the giant plane of jars that had no military strategic at all was the most bombed place in history. And right, just it's a travesty and it's a crime against humanity, and it's us as individual humans that have to use our free will to say, no, I am not going to operate that plane or operate that drone that is going to blow up some ancient architecture that has nothing to do with anything. Like we are the ones enforcing these. We're giving up our free will and killing ourselves, and it has to stop.
Right. And the context of that was that was during the Vietnam War, and the excuse to bomb the neighboring country of Laos for 8 years was because communist Laotian forces shot down an American plane. So therefore, they had every right to come across over into a country that they weren't technically at war with. And the country Laos itself was bombed for 8 years, and it was per capita the most bombed country in history, and they're still finding bombs there. But the Plain of Jars is a megalithic site in Laos, and I remember first hearing about it on Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. So I heard about it a long time ago. So it was always kind of in the back of my mind. And nobody really quite knows what the jars were for, but there's a bunch of them, and some of them are really big.
Oh, if that's been bombed, I wonder what was there beforehand, because there's still a lot left. I mean, I wonder what was. Yeah.
So then there was the bombing during the war.
War, yeah.
You know, there's pictures of it, and you can find in here also. So, you know, it's like they turned a lot of these places into military targets. Star forts were military targets in the Civil War and World War I, World War II. You know, so many.
It's just
so much old world architecture was just, you know, bombed to ruins, and I think that's what they were doing. But one of the things that I really wanted to get into with this is to show you some things with popular culture, and
I was going to mention all the action men movies of the 80s, you know, as far as, you know, imprinting on all the young males that the way to be a man is to be aggressive and get out there and kill people, and yeah, that's the good thing. And this is also how they get war going, is this division. You know, they move peoples around so no one knows where they're from. They, you know, move people from different, you know, so basically, and then they set up divisions, you know, they're bad, they're your enemy. And so people, you know, these poor young men go off to war, you know, thinking they're doing the right thing and thinking they're protecting their families, but it's just all lies. All lies.
And there's these, you know, so-called natural disasters, but they're like one right after the other in different parts of the world. So you've got earthquakes, you've got hurricanes, you've got tornadoes. You know, they're big tornadoes, and they're happening year after year. But this, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that the World Wide Web came from CERN. This guy, Tim Berners-Lee, still associated with it today, was the person that brought this the World Wide Web into being. And I just thought it was really interesting that that was the case.
Interesting.
Did not know that.
Symbol there for CERN.
Right, 6. 6.
A mark of something.
How many? 6. Wait, 1. I'm losing myself. 2.
Yeah, 3.
3.
Yep. 3
okay. It's like, I
know.
You know, all these civil wars happening.
Anyone?
A lot of loss of life. This was the king of Rwanda. He was a Tutsi. Check out how tall this guy is.
Oh yeah.
And they genocided the Tutsis, and if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken, they separated the Tutsis and the Hutu just by size. So people that were of the same family, if your daughter was short and your son was tall, were put into two different classes and then called two different races and tribes of people. And then they turned the majority population, the Hutu, that were smaller, to wipe out and kill all of the Tutsi, which were these taller people. But it was literally the exact same genetic, cultural, and everything people that the French and English U.S. government came in and turned upon each other.
And actually, it was the Germans and then the Belgian, because Burundi and Rwanda was part of first German East Africa, and then it became Belgian. And basically, I'm doing some research because I'm in the 90s right now. I'm really digging into that, and like you say, there's a whole different story there about what actually took place. But what happened to the king? This was the last king. He died unexpectedly in 1959 after visiting a Belgian doctor in Burundi, where he'd gone for a meeting with Catholic missionaries. So you can imagine what might have happened there.
Yeah, Catholic missionaries and a doctor can get done.
Right?
Let's get rid of this guy.
Jesuits. The Jesuit order, the AKA military wing of the Roman Catholic Empire.
Okay. And then right after he was gotten out of the way was when the Rwandan Revolution came in, and when everything was turned upside down and all that started to happen. So, this genocide has been going on for quite some time, unfortunately. So there's a lot of these stories of these, planes colliding with each other on runways. And at the same time, we're being told that, well, great. I'll come back to this in just a second. Communism is gone. Soviet Union dissolved itself by the end of that, during this time. And
when did the wall fall? It was 89, just before this?
Yeah.
I have to ask David.
Germany?
Yeah, so Germany reunified.
It was Czechoslovakia, I think, that where the very first incident happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all of these communist places are starting to go into this state of civil war against each other. So the centralized government is eventually gone, but in its place, there's more war and chaos. So it never really got better. It got worse. And that's pretty clear going through this year by year, month by month, in terms of what's taken place. And then you see these mass shootings that are coming up. So this was in New Zealand, the Aramona massacre. And so at the time, it was New Zealand's deadliest shooting and led to changes in firearms legislation. But this is what the memorial looks like, which is kind of interesting because of the pyramid and the circle and the square there, and then this pillar in the middle. So that is the Aramona Massacre Memorial in New Zealand.
And they did the same thing in Australia with Port Arthur Massacre, completely, contrived, made up, played out. And that's how they disarmed Australia. And, have a look at what's happening to Australia right now.
Mm-hmm. So these mass shootings are starting to come in play. You start to see the formation of the steps leading to the European Union. That doesn't happen quite yet, but they're laying the groundwork. It's a German reunification. And you're still having these plane crashes. This plane collision in Detroit. And I just want to show you the similarity here of this Detroit plane crash and then another plane crash in China in the same year. And it looks like almost identical here.
Like a bomb going off in the fuselage.
two different places. You've got the earthquakes. You've got these crazy weather events. And again, it's beyond statistically significant. They're starting to devolve into this state of war. You've got Desert Storm going on over with Kuwait. More plane crashes. You've got that Provisional Irish Republican Army doing their bombing and terrorism thing, on 10 Downing Street, where the Prime Minister lives, during a cabinet meeting. And they show up a lot with these terrorist activities, bombings. Again, I just really have to wonder what's really going on here, because I couldn't find a whole lot of information on their bombing of the London stations of Paddington and Victoria early in the morning in London. So I found this article, and then there's this picture. This was like a stock picture of several different places of this bombing, but it doesn't look, major.
Looks like they've got the local skinheads and going, just go in and mess it up a bit,
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I see when I look at that. It's like that's all. That basically, that same shot was all I could find to show what this bombing looked like. So anyway, there's just really weird stuff going on. And I'm just going to scroll through this. I did want to point out that there were two things that happened. One is that the Bangladeshi general election elected a nationalist party prime minister. And within a couple of months was a really bad weather event. And so, again, I'm just looking at the odds of some of these things that are taking place.
Well, it's all coming out now, just in the last month or two, isn't it? That I mean, it's all been out there, but it's starting to realise that the governments admit that they've been cloud seeding and they're doing all this other stuff and they're playing with the weather. It's been going on for decades, clearly.
Absolutely. So this is the point that I wanted to make with that. On April 29th, around 2 months to the day after the general election in Bangladesh, where the Bangladesh Nationalist Party won the majority of seats in parliament, a tropical cyclone hit Bangladesh, killing 138,000 people and causing an estimated 1.5 billion in damage. And again, that's what's in the historical record. But
a lot of people.
But
holy.
And then on the same day, there was an earthquake that hit in the Republic of Georgia, in around the same place of this breakaway republic called South Ossetia, which this again had taken place in the same year, where it was saying we're independent from the Republic of Georgia. And so the same day that this cyclone hit Bangladesh, or around the same time, like a week later. No, it was the same day. That happened. So again, I'm just like, what are the odds of this happening naturally? It's just.
What's that place called again? Is it Lu something? That country that autonomous region they created?
Well, it still exists today, and there's several in Georgia. So there's South Ossetia, and then there's a couple of other ones there as well. So it just really seems like
one that has festivals every year, and you can actually get passports from them and become like a diplomat and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's happening. I mean, the Soviet Union is dissolving at this point. They're still there, but they're dissolving. And all of these little republics start having these aspirations to be independent. And then there's civil war. And, it's not this dream of freedom that those raised in the West believed the situation to be, that communism was bad, and it's just
divide and conquer.
Right. That's
right. And at the same time, it is such a playbook because they had to introduce the whole terrorists, tell the world what they were before they could get to this point and start calling normal people terrorists. They had to prove the threat, the unseen threat, right?
Right. And then you get these stories with really suspicious causes. So this flight in Nigeria, there was a fire that caught fire after takeoff in Saudi Arabia, crashed while attempting an emergency landing, killing everybody on board. And then when I looking at it, the cause for the fire was attributed to the overheating of an underinflated tire, leading to an in-flight fire.
Leading to the roof burning off. How did that roof burn off?
Yeah, I mean it's like that. It gets better. Some of the examples. I'll show you my favorite one when we get to it. So I'm just going to fast forward this because there's a lot of information, but this is the point that I wanted to make, and some of this is in deference, Bernie, to your music background as a DJ.
Perfect.
Normally,
that Nirvana cover you have right there was actually one of the first CDs I ever bought in junior high.
Okay.
So we're literally going into my music history.
Well, you'll love the topic of this conversation then, maybe. So normally I would not have gone down this road. I would have seen this and I would have said, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to pass over that because I'm looking for plane crashes and earthquakes. But there were some things that really caught my attention on this. So September 24th of 1991 was called the best day in music history because 3 bands released their breakout albums on the same day. On that day, Nevermind, with its album cover featuring a nude baby swimming towards a fishhook with a $1 bill on it, becoming one of the best known album covers in American popular music. Okay. Within 4 years or 3 years, Kurt Cobain was found dead.
Suicided.
At his home in Seattle. His death was ruled as a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head. And it was attributed to his drug addiction problem. Now, that would not have meant anything to me 30 years ago. I would have seen that and I would have just, oh, a baby, how cute. But for those of us,
pedophilia being promoted right there, right? Putting the naked child as art.
That's kind of the direction. It's like, what is the meaning of this that's hidden? And so that's one point. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. The
title's interesting too, isn't it? Like Nirvana, Nevermind. Don't worry about heaven.
There's lots of implications here. So the Red Hot Chili Peppers released Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and that was certified gold, platinum, and it's been platinum 7 times in the US and sold over 13 million copies worldwide. Now, that's one weird album cover. And it's not the kind of music that I would listen to. I mean, I really like easy listening. I like what you would call new age music or instrumental
flowing things that flow.
And grunge rock.
Yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers can kind of jolt your system a bit sometimes. It's very sort of ooh.
So there's the title of the album, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and then when I saw that, I thought of the swastika. But regardless of what it is, because I tried to compare it to a swastika and I just wasn't getting it, but it's still an interesting image there. It was recorded in Harry Houdini's house. it referenced sexual innuendos, references to drugs and death, themes of lust and exuberance. And, it's just like, what is being encoded in our minds and, the minds of impressionable young people with this kind of theme, if you will. It's being put out there.
Magic,
it's highly
this
popular.
kind of magic, right? They tell you right there.
Yeah, it's like it just seems like there's something going on. And then on the third album that was released on that day was Bad Motorfinger. And that was Chris Cornell's band.
Soundgarden.
And so when I saw the album cover for Soundgarden, what came to mind was the black sun symbol, if anybody's familiar with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Vril, all that.
Black hole sun.
Yeah. And
that song's on that album too, Black Hole Sun, yeah.
Right. And so he was another one that after a performance in Detroit, he was found dead.
He actually spoke out a few times as well. What's his name from? Oh God, I'm going to forget now. But yeah, someone else. They were speaking out about children and the whole children sort of thing.
Oh,
they both wound up dead. Chester.
He spoke out against it, or no?
Yeah, it was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they were talking more about the deep state and the children and trafficking and that that Chester guy. I can't remember the band anyway.
Bennington was his last name.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Chester Bennington. What band's he from, people? Let us know. Linkin Park. Thank you. Hatless Chimp. Thank you. Linkin Park.
Yep. So you've got 2 suspicious deaths there. 3 breakout albums on the same day. Dead Can Dance, which was a band that my brother really liked when he was a teenager, had a album called Black Sun Ceremony.
It's just so in your face when you look at it, like with these glasses, isn't it?
And so I put the words for the song there, but it's like, what are they trying to tell us? And I really do think that, there's predictive programming in a lot of stuff that's telling us without telling us. So they fulfill the requirement to let us know what they're doing. But then there's a lot of artists, I think, that are also telling us what's going on in their music, but we don't necessarily know it.
I mean, it's all incantations and spells and it's a big, all the world's a stage, right? And I guess whoever's writing the script is putting on the show and,
Yeah. So anyway, there's that kind of thing going on. This is more destruction of old world architecture in Yugoslavia and Croatia, between Serbia and what's left of the Republic of Yugoslavia and Croatian forces. So they're destroying this UNESCO World Heritage Site. And of course there's questions about UNESCO, but still, it's saying it's really old. It should be protected, and they're bombing it. And then you've got these crazy fires going on in California, which continues here. It continues around the world. I found some interesting ones in Australia doing the research. There was one in the 80s called the Ash Wednesday fires.
Ash Wednesday, yeah. I was in Melbourne for that.
Yeah. So, there's just all kinds of, weather events, blizzards. Bill Cooper released his book, Behold a Pale Horse, in December of 1991. And he's, telling us about this stuff. So I guess I'll stop here, but again, it's just more of the same.
Well, yeah.
And it's really, really interesting. just to look at it differently.
Oh, absolutely. Like when even you were naming off some of those rock songs that like I was listening to in like junior high and high school, it's like it is a whole new perspective now with the eyes wide open and like wow, it's truly hidden in plain sight how they put this like pedophilia and
what does everyone do? You know, we sing these songs, which is like an Peter, you know, with lots of emotion, and then it's like, then we're the ones doing their little ritual, really.
There we go. Yeah.
So
you know, it's yeah. I mean, it's a really deep subject, but there's a reason we're in the situation we're in today.
Yeah.
And it's not just we're, you know, like we were saying earlier, that we're beasts and that this is our true nature. That's what they want us to believe. And they do it that way because they can't touch us. So they have to get us to fight each other and kill each other and do their dirty work for them. Exactly. So they have to get in our heads and, you know, give us all these reasons to hate and, you know, not like people of a different religion or a different ethnicity or a different color. You know, they just create that polarization all the time. And this has been ongoing for, you know, the attack against all of us has been going on for 40 years, but it's been going on before that. And I personally think that the reset really ramped up starting in around 1830. So since 1830 is when they really started, you know, setting up the new historical narrative.
Yeah, exactly. After wiping out the old one from the two world wars at the beginning to end of the first few decades of the 20th century, and then they mopped up what was left with the Korean War and the Vietnam War, and from there they've rewritten everything. And one of the best examples that really evidence that really does show this, and that I have to give credit to like the Mudflood Tartarian community for finding this out, and it's the French and German science books from the 1600s that have full chapters on atmospheric electricity, and that they have the Hertz frequencies, the power differential that you will get depending on how high up from the ground you are in the atmosphere. And this is 500 years ago. And we're told in school that Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity in 1750. Like, it's ridiculous.
Flying a kite in a storm.
Yeah.
Everyone goes out and flies kites in storms, so come on.
You know, and another companion to that, Bernie, is, you know, Vedic astronomy and astrology goes back way, 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 way in time.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they were, you know, masters, you know, observing cycles and, you know, cycles of time and the heavens. And I mean, those guys were amazing. And yet, if you look in our historical record, they want us to believe that officers of the British East India Company and their ilk, you know, brought in this wonderful astronomy and observatories to India. And, you know, it's like, you know, that's not true. But they sure tied it, you know, honed in and took credit for everything.
Oh, right. It's their facade. Any building that they put the 1800s, 1900s that it was
India wasn't a, you know, third world country before the bloody English got there.
No, it was a world dominating or a multi-world dominating empire, seafaring empire, as was China, as was Persia, as was Egypt. And I really, more than anything, am fascinated to find out what was the catastrophe that caused they were able to do this reset a couple hundred years ago and get away with it. That when the British and the Dutch, I guess, essentially started taking, and Spanish started taking everything over and wiping everything out.
Yeah, I mean, it's they did something, and there's a lot of really good researchers looking at a lot of different aspects of it, and I think it could have been a series of events. I think it could have been directed energy weapons. I think it could have been frequency. I think it could have been, a lot of different things. What I absolutely believe is that it was deliberately caused. And I know there's those folks that see it as being space weather and all that kind of stuff, but this was deliberately done. I mean, the reset was deliberately done. So it's like somebody was waiting
exactly
to do this. And so I really think there's that element of black magic that we've already been talking about. And somebody's bringing up the Mahabharata, and if you look at Western India, I mean, it's radioactive to this day.
Right?
Somebody fried that place.
Exactly.
And that's where, again, if you look at the history, and I went through, and I followed an alignment through there. That was a place where there were highly enlightened beings. I mean, we're talking masters of consciousness,
right?
That lived through that area. It's like they celebrated these highly enlightened, beings that knew how to activate their Merkaba and light up like a light bulb, and
exactly. And
those.
Mongolia, right next to Tibet, right in the heart of that spiritual heartland, and we're designed to be taught like the racist conception of you're a Mongol, you're degenerate if you're a Mongol. But it's like those are the most. I actually have a couple of friends that live here that are from Mongolia. Then they were the most spiritually advanced and developed people I've ever encountered, and it's. Everything is backwards. We live in a backwards reality of word spells and fake news. And it just, once you have the perspective to see it for what it is, it's frustrating, but we are making the change. We are the change, and it's a beautiful world and a beautiful future that we are building.
But it also shows you that it's just one playbook that they do over and over again. So when you work out, the code, because they've got no creativity, when you work out what they're doing, it's just obvious. Then it's like, well, let's get off this merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Right.
All they've got down is viciousness and brutality. That's their thing. But you may bring up a good point, because Mongolia is desert. You've got most of Australia desert. You've got the southwest of the United States on up into Canada is desert. You've got, all of these, the Sahara. I mean, if you look at the Sahara Desert on Google Earth, especially in Mauritania, you just see this downward motion, like something was flowing downward.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same in Central Australia. It's just everywhere, these flows. It's like, what?
Yeah, so it's like they did something, because it wasn't like that. It was highly advanced.
Yeah.
Savannah. Talk about Drumheller, the Badlands there. Badlands in the United States. It was caused. And I do remember Sylvie on New Earth having an episode about these deserts. And there's in Oklahoma, when I was living in Oklahoma between 2012 and 2016, and I first started waking up to this. And a lot of I watched Sylvie's channel at the time, and she really brought in a lot of really good information about the star forts and these kinds of things. But there's a little Sahara in Oklahoma with sand dunes and everything. And, that kind of fits that category because I really think there's, pyramids underneath those sand dunes.
Oh, yeah.
Not just there, but everywhere.
I couldn't agree more.
There's deserts in places you would not expect to find them. There's one in Brazil on the coast. It's like the wettest desert, so you've got all the sand and then you've got these pools of water in the sand. Okay. What's going on there? Yeah. So, there's been a lot of destruction going on, and, it's like time we become aware of it, and we can't change it. But as we become aware of it, I think we can, move forward, make different decisions, and, realize what's been going on here.
Yeah. Change direction, make a different, like you say, different decision, different action.
Yeah.
Because the last one, I mean, the way that I'm looking at it is, the 1800s kind of reset. It doesn't look to me like that was, the mud flood or the event. Like you say, it looks like it was more of a intellectual, memory reset, sort of just picking people out and things, destroying bits and pieces, confusing people, and then they could go in and put in their order, get things right again. And also when you mentioned about, wiping out all the rishis and the wise men and all this kind of stuff, it'd be, because there's the is it the Maharishi experiments where they got the people to meditate, and you only need a small percentage and it changes, the whole vibration and frequency. I mean, imagine if those people were enlightened beings and they were in certain places dotted across the earth, what them just being there and existing would do to the frequencies. So of course I would go and target people like that, because that would drop the whole earth frequency, wouldn't it?
And boy, have they ever been targeted. I mean, if you look at Tibet and what happened there starting in 1950, I mean,
yeah,
Tibet was the last living cultural vestige of this original civilization and what they were capable of doing within the human mind and the human body, and our capabilities. I mean, it was much more widespread than just there, but they were I guess because they were kind of isolated, they were the ones that kept it the longest. And they just, they got tortured and killed and, you name it. So
it's just over and over.
Yeah. So what the controllers don't want is us knowing all those things about meditation and our abilities, our real abilities. And that's why
sciences.
Yeah, that's why they've gone through all of this. Which is a good reminder, Bernie, if anybody's familiar with the YouTube channel Spirit Science.
Yep.
You heard of it?
Yep.
If anybody wants a fun way of learning about a lot of this stuff, it's really cool. He's been around for a while.
Cartoons, yeah, it's been around for years.
Yep. Been around for years.
It is. I don't agree with everything, but a lot, like the vast majority of it, it's bang on, and it's like you just listen to what resonates with you, and if you're feeling it within you, you know that it's probably true. And well, if it doesn't, just be use your discernment.
Yeah, don't judge it. Just leave it. Go find more information. See what happens. Create the things that can link up and give you a better picture. But as we get into this, we're noticing that all these fringe kind of theories that was always talked down about, and don't go into that. They're all weirdos. Don't look at that. That's
right.
That's the truest truth, and it's clear now that there's a very good reason they tell you not to look at that. They're weirdos. Oh no, because it's the truth. It's just a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust your gut feeling. Don't trust your own intuition. Like, don't listen to your spirit or soul when it's telling you that what you're about to do might be wrong. Don't worry about karma. It's all about, being in debt to afford that Mercedes that, you're never going to really drive anyways because you're too busy slaving away to pay it off.
Yep. And then you can go home and watch TV and we'll tell you what's real. It's a nice little plan.
I stopped doing that a long time ago. Long before I woke up. I just didn't like it.
Well, that's
No,
how
what?
it helps you wake up, is when you start listening to yourself.
It's like I've never been able to watch a scary movie or a suspenseful movie.
Me neither.
I just can't do it.
Right, but it's like, why would I put myself through that trauma? Why am I going to traumatize myself with that? And
that stuff stays with you. You don't just go through it while you're watching it. It goes into your brain and like becomes a part
Well,
of you.
that's exactly right. And it's like, I didn't want to put that stuff in my brain. I'd much rather, research interesting stuff like hidden history, and alternative history.
Exactly.
My husband would watch movies like Predator or Silence of the Lambs, and I'd go into the bedroom and he'd be like, "Darling, where are you? It's just a movie." And
he's about to kill her. He's about to kill her.
He's from Texas. And no, I can't watch it. It's just, it's like my body reacts to it like it's real.
Yeah,
and,
but it is.
Even the sound.
Frequency. Yeah.
Especially the sound. Like, I always have to point this out, that Marilyn Manson didn't stop making music or making albums and releasing albums because he didn't want to, or it wasn't profitable or anything like that. It's because he was getting paid more money and was told to put his effort into producing the soundtracks of horror movies, and that they're doing the subliminal messaging and emotional manipulation through the frequencies in the sound within the movies.
Yeah, well, we all know back in the, 60s or 70s that they did the subliminal messaging with the popcorn, and they flashed it up, and it said, what does it say? You're hungry, you want popcorn or something. And in the interval, everyone got up and went and bought popcorn.
Yeah, after the movie's over, right?
Yeah. Like, so and that was decades ago, and people, don't take it on that that's real. And so how far advanced is that now?
Exactly. Like, and I will not sleep in the same bed with my girlfriend Amber on a night that she watches a horror movie, because 10 out of 10 times she will wake up screaming, shrieking, scratching, punching, kicking, and I'm literally getting physically assaulted from the trauma that the horror movie has instilled in her. Like,
the imprint. Yeah.
If you want more evidence than that, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So again, that's, all of these things are going on, in our education, we're being dumbed down in terms of, critical thinking was removed from the curriculum around 1850. So they just want us to memorize and regurgitate. Conformist thinking is rewarded and divergent thinking is not. And that's probably only gotten worse. I mean, like I said, I graduated in 81 from high school, so it was kind of a different world back then. But it's like, if you think differently or act differently, you tend to be.
Sorry.
It's okay. But there's this ostracization that goes on if you don't do what what the crowd does.
Exactly. And it's
what are you going to do,
it's ridiculous. You have the herd mentality, and that's why though it is so amazing, and the accelerated advance in the shift of the Grand Awakening since the COVID lockdowns is that it broke that mass movement, the mass sheep herd day-to-day grinding gears of the routine of the ant farm, and half the people have at least started to listen to their own spirit, their own voice inside, and started to wake up to the fact that there's more to life than just having that white picket fence, a golden retriever, and a executive spot in your local team's seating arena. You know, like
there is really.
Well, that's really kind of how they hid this from everybody. I mean, I think this was always the plan, but they needed the piggy bank from the West to fund their other stuff. So they had to, make a certain number of people in certain countries feel comfortable. Like it's over there, it's somebody else. We're going to have this nice life here. And
it's more division, economic division as well.
Right.
They're a third world country, right? We're first world because we're on top. We got the gold medal. They got bronze. It's like, come on, really? Third world? What does that mean? It's just all perceptions. And I was watching something and someone said, it might have even been Lorenzo, that there is no money. There's only credit and debt. The whole money thing is it's an illusion. That all there is credit or debt. Like, that's it. There used to be money. A gold coin is worth something because you can then turn that into something else that's worth the same or more. You can't do that with a dollar note.
And I found the origin for that as it affects us today in around 1716, 1717. And that was a Scottish man named John Law, and the founding of the Company of the Indies. And apparently he was a gambler turned banker, good friends with the King of France. And he was studying, one of the things he was studying was the Dutch East India Company, or Dutch West India Company, VOC. Anyway, it was like, of all time, it was the richest, wealthiest company,
East India.
the first multinational company. So he studied that, he studied aspects of banking, and, he's like, let's try this. Okay. So people invested in this whole Mississippi company venture of his, and everything was going great for about 2 years. And then the whole venture just fell apart. But we got the word millionaire from it. We got the word, bubble from it. And and that was real. I think that was where our current financial system started. I think it was introduced by him during that time.
It's interesting. And that's the mid date of the, the time bubble.
Time, that I talk about. Right. Exactly. There's it's some interesting things happening during that time. 1717 was the year that the premier Freemason Lodge of London was founded too.
Yep.
So interesting things happen there, and that's one of the reasons I subscribed to that idea when I really started looking into it.
I know. I mean, what happened at that sort of late 1700s to early 1800s sort of time frame? Like, everything changed. I mean, you look at the clothing of people, from the 1700s to the clothing of people from the, say 1750 to 1850, they're completely different. Like, you go from these amazing fabrics and everything's ornate and everyone's dressed up to the nines to just everyone's in a hat with a trench coat on. It's
right, and it's
everything.
Is a brick castle, and then anything that is brand new or from that point forward is a little wooden shack. And it's like, okay, so you're trying to tell me that when you guys first got here with absolutely nothing, you were able to build this ridiculously insane castle, but then the next thing that you were only able to build for the next 10 or 15 years are these little tiny wood shacks that, well, like a Sasquatch could probably build.
Right. Well, and that's a big clue. And, that's a big clue as far as the reset goes, because you've got, like you said, you've got these wooden shacks right next to these amazing buildings.
Yeah. Or you may do it with like the World's Fair. So we built the whole thing. We built it all at the same time, and all these amazing buildings, but we just decided to build the entrance and the where you pay and get your tickets out of wood and make it look like a shed. I always look at the fences the wooden fences. You think, oh, they build these massive structures, and then what? They just get these picket fences. That's all they can do for a fence.
Yep, it's ridiculous, and it's like, and not just that though. They built it, and then they tore it down 2 years later because they no longer needed it. And but they did need all of these wooden huts that.
None of them get ripped out.
They chose. They rather tear that down and then build a wooden hut to live in.
Yeah, keep the slums. Yeah, keep the slums and rip down. The best hotels, of course. We're doing things in reverse here, Bernie. Come on, get with the game.
Backwards land.
Bizarro land. Who have we got here? Mr. Brees, Face Typer, hello. Callum Wilkinson, Eric. Today's clothing is great when it's yoga pants. Well, there you go. Craig lies in the mud.
You guys, I'm just gonna take a quick 2-minute break, and then if we can come back and do like 20 minutes on the ley lines, the cathedrals, and the other section of stuff you were gonna present, Michelle. Is there still time for that tonight?
You still good? Did you get that my brilliant, amazing intro up and running? You can play that if you want, Bernie.
Yeah, let's see if I can get that to work now.
I've got a copy of Big Balls.
Well, let's see.
See, I've talked myself up so much now that it's not very good, and people are just going to mock me when I come back. So please be nice, people. Hello, Truth Unveiled, Rosetta Stone, Hippie Shake, Slick Firmament. New Normal, Aaron Corbett, Face Diaper, hello. I could listen to Michelle cook rice and find it interesting. Well, there you go, Michelle.
I wish I could cook rice and have it turn out.
Yeah, when she cooks rice, it is interesting.
It's crunchy half the time. I don't like crunchy rice.
It's because they lie, and it's not 5 minutes rice; it's 10-minute rice.
It's doing whatever the instructions say, and it still doesn't turn out. I don't know if that's living in Arizona or what.
Actually,
Arizona, don't just put it in water out in the sun and it just cooks itself.
Not in the part where I live. Further south.
Michael wants you to write a book, Michelle, and he says, please. Actually, we'll put the link for Michelle's website because she's basically written about 4 books already. It's just in blog style. So it is Piercing the Veil of Illusion. Is that correct, Michelle? Piercing the Veil of Illusion. Michelle, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There we go.
No. Well, if anyone can hear me, it is Piercing the Veil of Illusion.
Sorry.
A very good intro, isn't it? All right, chat amongst yourself, guys. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Just go into the toilet. Enjoy my amazing creations.
All right. Okay, so we'll be, me and Campbell will be back in 5 minutes. Michelle, if you need to take a break, or you can just start presenting some of that, and I will be listening on my cell phone and be right back. And thank you so much.
Well, I think I will probably take a quick break too, but I do have some things when we come back.
All right then. Okay, I will play something in the background to everyone, and we will all be back here in 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we start with like, are there sort of sections that we've got batteries into storage, production of, I mean, are there certain sort of systems, is there like stages?
Well, if we go really far back as far as like the Volta when he was coming up with the first battery, back in those days they thought, just by creating a static electricity effect was the only way of creating electricity. But when Volta started doing experiments with using copper and then a dielectric and using some acid of some sort, that they were finding that they were getting electrical current using certain metals reacting with an acid or a electrolyte. That not only can you create electricity by the static means, you can also create it chemically. So that was a very big discovery for Volta to come up with the very first battery. Back then they used to call it a pile because it was a pile accumulations of copper, dielectric, and battery acid, and just kept piling things up. I think they also used nickel as well in the composition. So yeah, that was the very first creation of the first battery.
So different layers of different, basically this stacking was different layers of different materials that had different a lot of the experimentation was done in that time with different materials. What was working with creating electrical current or creating, basically a new version of creating electricity, not through a static means, right? So also too, back in those days, you got to understand they didn't have like voltmeters, amp meters, and stuff like this. None of that stuff was invented yet. So some of the early tests to actually see if electricity was present in the battery, they actually had a dissected frog, and they would touch it with two electrodes, and then the leg would shoot out. Good move. Yeah.
They're biological, right? We could get in that story there, right there. We could spend 6 hours talking about that one. There was a big controversy, with having electricity and biological reactions. So we could do a whole show on that one altogether. But as far as that was the very first time that they were able to store electrical power in a battery.
And so Volta is obviously where we get the word volt from.
Yep.
Is energy in the battery stored in volts? Or, I mean, my real question: how is it stored? How do you hold?
Well, it's a chemical reaction. Yeah, it's a chemical reaction with the metals. You have a dielectric, you have copper, and some of the batteries have nickel. And then it's the reaction. It gets into almost like the alchemy type of stuff.
So is it almost? Is it like when the electricity goes in, a reaction is created, and that basically changes or transmutes the materials, holds them there, and then when you want to take it back, does that reverse and release the energy? Is that how it works?
Well, it can only store the power for so long after the battery discharges and the electrolyte either wears out or does not hold that charge. With the reaction with steel and the copper and the dielectric, it breaks down, right? An acid will naturally break you down.
And that's the good question and point of it is that it's these endothermic, exothermic reactions we're taught in chemistry class. So that's putting out energy, which is your heat, which is your cold, it's absorbing it in endothermic, putting out it's exothermic. But that's also electric energy as well that is in that reaction, so that it's creating a battery that you're not having to do these chemical changes in that deteriorates it and builds it up or destroys it, like in your giant D3.5 volt batteries, it's zinc around charcoal, where you're getting your current from the zinc dissolving into that charcoal, creating a chemical reaction that's then putting out this electrical charge.
Like when Volta was doing some of the experiments, he had to be very careful because some of the gases that were coming off these piles were actually, they're quite toxic and also very flammable. So a lot of those batteries back in those days, they did catch on fire from time to time, and it wasn't pretty. And you know, it was just over the years and years of developing the battery, right, that it got safer and safer, right? You know, you didn't have the toxic fumes coming off. But there is still a lot of toxic material in even modern day batteries now. But, you know, good technology gets better over time, right?
Most of them are an acid, aren't they? So,
well, you see now, like they're getting into these new batteries that a lot of guys are using the optic grid homes. They're called lithium iron phosphate battery. It's a dry cell battery. So they also have the characteristics of it is almost like a capacitor. You can charge and discharge way many more times than you could a lithium ion battery. Lithium ion battery is actually, they're pretty unstable, and you know, they have the problems in the cell phones with the lithium ion batteries exploding.
Overheating, exploding,
yeah. So the lithium iron phosphate battery, it is a dry cell battery. And I have one of them that's actually made for a scooter. I think it's a 160 amp hour battery. But they're very stable. Number two, they're non-toxic, and they're extremely light. Like if you take like a regular car battery compared to this thing's way, way, way lighter. The materials are just so much lighter. But the longevity of the battery is the main thing, that they can be discharged way more than the average car battery. They're rated almost like a capacitor when it comes to like lifespan. So the optic gridders, the guys who are building the solar houses and with the inverters and all that stuff, they're all switching over to the lithium iron phosphate battery because they last and they perform, right?
Well, there's also such things too, like a mechanical battery. And an example of this is people have created systems where the solar energy activates a water pump that then pumps water up into the water tower while it's using that electricity during the day. And then when you want it at night, you let the water out, go through the hydroelectric generator, and it's coming back out. And that's completely green and renewable type of battery as well. So it's that also like graphite, I believe, or graphene is another type of solid state battery that they've been suppressing the knowledge of or the advancement of. And I think John Hutchinson's crystal battery might be that type, but it could also be a piezoelectric style battery or something.
I think
there we go.
And we are back. All righty. What do we got here?
The only guys I'll stay up past my bedtime for.
We love you.
Oh, thank Michelle. So there you go. Everyone has to give Michelle lots of hearts in the chat, or maybe lots of coffee. Keep her up a bit.
Water. Oh, then I'd never get to sleep later on.
Where's your kitty cat? Is he sleeping? Is he?
Well, I'm at a place where the internet is better, or I'd be dropping off a lot. So he's at home and I'm at an office.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So you're really committed with us here being up late.
It works.
All right.
But I usually get up. I usually get up early and go to bed early. So,
Yeah.
but time zones and all that kind of thing.
Wow, I know it's good, isn't it? And it's great we can talk to each other. It's just the time.
Like, I get
thing.
I get it. What are you, 13, 14 hours ahead? So
Yeah,
it's almost, it's 11:18 p.m. here.
Yeah, it's 2:18 p.m. the next day here.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yes. So I get it. I'm here.
And we love you for it.
Oh, and here we go. Everyone loves you. Stuart Rogers, Narina, Kimothy. Here we go. They're all sending you hearts.
Thanks, everybody.
How do I say that? Retinue. Oh, he's put up Retinue 96 something. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around.
At least I'm more intelligible than boo 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 boo.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, my brain feels that way, but it's
More intelligent than me.
it's working.
King Vegemite, are you in Perth? Send me an email and join our meetup groups. And everyone out there too, you know, join up with anyone who's in your area. Try and actually get physical meetup groups, you know, get the energy flowing. You know, the power of two people is much more than the power of, you know, two separate people. It's more than 100%, if that makes sense. Did I say that right?
Yes.
It's almost like the electricity grid that we were talking about yesterday, Bernie. Like, you get more output than the original input or base frequency.
Yeah.
Speaking of impossible time zones, so I'll share this. It's in the next short and sweet that I'm working on that people have given me suggestions. And Big Diomede Island is a short distance from Little Diomede Island in the Bering Strait. Big Diomede is Russian. Little Diomede is American. The international dateline goes right between them. And so there's 21 hours difference in time between the two places.
What?
And they're less than they're less than 3 miles apart. And so
3 miles.
Less than 5 kilometers apart from each other.
They needed to put the biggest possible division between Russia and China, or Russia, America. I guess, right?
So it's interesting because it's Little Diomede is part of Alaska.
That's
and
jeez.
Yeah. What's the logic? There is no logic to that. Now we know. Now that we know how messed up the world is, we know there's no logic.
Exactly.
Even this time is just doesn't make sense. Just this imposed grid, isn't it? A prison for the mind, a gilded cage.
And it seems that we have people literally from every time zone in the world joining in live with us here. So
I'm seeing it all pop up. Yeah,
we are making an impact, and your late night sacrifice for us, Michelle, it's not in vain.
I'll try not to make too much of it.
You need to share a screen again here, or
yeah, let's do that.
Okay,
I'll
just let you put it up. I'll put it to the screen, and then I was gonna go finish my cigarette that is still outside burning.
Yes,
but I'm actually listening. That's how I was able to come back in instantly when I knew Campbell was back and to get it going.
It was synchronicity. And Eric Smith has just spoken some truth, and he says long hair gives one psychic powers, and I believe that's true. If you don't believe me, just go and watch what's that movie with the big blue people? I can't even remember the name.
Avatar.
Avatar. See, we can plug into the trees.
So synchronicity is a good lead into this, and we were talking about ley lines too, and it's been a pretty incredible journey. And what I'm finding when people give me suggestions, Most of my original data came from my own research and following ley lines, and those were all the places that I looked at, and that's what focused my research. And when I look at places that other people suggest, it takes me places that I wouldn't even think to look, which opens up whole new subjects. And, you know, you just barely have to
You
scratch
almost
the
don't want to
surface.
look. I know.
Barely scratch the surface for stuff just to come pouring out. And I think the original civilization was very advanced. I think it was based on sacred geometry. And I think ley lines are, besides being hugely significant, I think there's consciousness there, and metaphysics, and, you know, I can't even explain it, but there really is magic there. And so I kind of wanted to give this example of this work that I was doing based on something somebody suggested. And I'm going to use the follow-up because this is where a lot of the synchronicities came in. So somebody who lives in Cape Fear, North Carolina, told me to look at this area that he had learned about, this ley line from the Bermuda Triangle to, he said Great Serpent Mound was in the original one. That was video number 1. This is the follow-up to the first video. There's a researcher named Peter Shampoo, and that's how he pronounces it. And he spells it Champous. And I would recommend you looking at his channel if you're interested in ley lines. It's very good information. Another interesting one is the Hornsby Island mystery. And I, from what I remember hearing, I think the man who originally produced those videos passed away, but his YouTube channel is still there, and he's got some really interesting information about ley lines as well. So Peter left a comment on this, like the same day that I uploaded it. And I didn't even know that he was the source of the commenter's information. So he said, I'm the author of this ley line. And he pointed out that Lake Itasca in Minnesota is on this ley line, and that Lake Itasca is the headwaters of the Mississippi River. And so I started there. And then he also mentioned that there were a lot of meteor strikes on the ley line. And if you go to his website, geometryofplace.com, he's got it on there. And then somebody else who had worked in pipelines for a career said that he had noticed the fact that pipelines and Indian reservations have a tendency to be related to each other, which is something else that I had kind of picked up over the years, but it was interesting having confirmation from somebody that actually worked in the field, noticing the same thing. And you really saw that with the pipeline going through North Dakota a couple of years ago at Standing Rock, and how that all played out. So anyway, somebody else commented after I put up the original part of that. This is what all these people thought of when they watched the video. And somebody pointed out that Huntington, West Virginia is on the ley line, and that was near the location of the Mothman prophecies, which was a movie that was supposed to have been based on a true story. And that occurred in Point Pleasant. And if you look at the relationship between Huntington, Point Pleasant, and the Great Serpent Mound, they're really quite close together. And, you know, you've got a pretty decent triangle going on there. 63 miles on this side, 69 miles on that side, and 34 between these two places. And I never saw the movie. It's a Tom Hanks movie. Or not Tom Hanks, Richard Gere. But it was based on this reporter, I think, whose wife had an experience, and he went back there to research it. And then I think after I uploaded this video, somebody commented that they actually had an experience with this creature. But I find it very interesting because I'm wondering if, originally this grid system was functioning throughout the earth, providing that free energy that our show is being introduced with. It was integrated. I think everything worked perfectly together, and I just wonder if there are places, geometrically on this grid that with an unmanned grid system, if there's tears or holes or, these magnetic anomalies or different things happen, like the Bermuda Triangle and places around the world that have the same reputation, called the vile vortices, where the same types of anomalies occur, where there's supposed to be disappearances of ships and, unusual things happening. So because there are places like this, I just wonder if there's a reason for it. And I'm just kind of speculating there, but it is interesting that there are places that are like this, where there's, enduring legends of these creatures, for example, in this part of West Virginia. And then I also knew from my research that there was this university in Huntington called Marshall University, and all of these universities have the same style of architecture. And I do believe there's a reason for that. I believe they were already built and part of the original civilization. And these are just a few examples. And then Huntington also had a trolley park, trolley line, rail line. There's all of these places that you would never think would have ever had any kind of infrastructure like this. And, there it is, these very sophisticated urban electrical rail systems that existed for a short while in our history, and then they all went away. And they were replaced by cars, buses, things we have today. And there's still is an existing park there. It's one of the few places that were trolley parks that are still in existence. Did you have a comment?
It's just, and that's the biggest. Yeah, that's the biggest part of this.
I have several
of this research is that narrative, isn't it? That when they were brand new populations, supposedly building brand new, cities and towns and things with small populations, they always built the things that would take the most resources, the most time, the most skill. And then after 20, 30, 40 years, they rip them all down and build
sometimes crap. 5 years. We no longer need it. It took 1 year to build, but really it would have taken us like 50 years to build it. And it would have cost like $30 million in those days, or actually $30 million in those days. So like $1 billion now to build this. And we only kept it for 5 years before we decided to tear it down and build something not as good for the same thing right next to it. Like, no, that didn't happen. And then it's like all of these older buildings have the buried levels underneath them. Every single city, even in North America, has underground subway systems in the downtown that nobody of the public's allowed into, but they've been there forever. And then it's like documented in Paris, like the catacombs under Rome, of these cities, and then in Turkey, where their people are actually allowed to own the property and discover it and go down. You have 5 to 10 stories of full city underneath it the entire way down that's populations of millions could survive in. And this is everywhere in the world. So right there, it just doesn't add up. And who's living there and what is the purpose of it? And any place that's dated, it's like they're 10,000 years old or older. So it's pre-Atlantuvian. And that's just the facts of the matter. And if you look at the Crespi collection, you both know of the Father Crespi collection. That's in Ecuador. where he was a Roman Catholic priest, Jesuit order, but he was good Father Crespi, so all the locals trusted him and gave him one of the many Golden Hall Book of Records that are documented around the world. These ones there's actually pictures of. And yeah, every language, if you study languages, if you know languages, you have Proto-Greek, Proto-Sumerian, what's the one of the East there that the Mahabharata was written in? Sorry, the ancient Eastern Indian language.
Indian, yeah. Ayurvedic,
Yeah,
Sanskrit.
Sanskrit. It's they have in these some of these golden records there. So that one looks like Proto-Greek, the pyramid. Michelle, is it you're sharing your screen right now?
Yeah.
If you can look up the pictures of the just say the golden or the pages. Sorry. I just smoked some weed while I was outside, so I got super high and had a temporary memory loss.
Because I get high. Because I get high. Because I get
there's
high.
a couple pictures that have like 6 or 7 of the pages laid out together that they're all pure gold.
Is
that
it over on the right there?
Yeah, that's one of them.
So that's rolled, is it? Like really sort of thin?
Yeah,
gold.
It's pure gold, and it's less than a millimeter thin or thick per page. Here, I'll try looking up in another one too. Oops, sorry.
And they were doing stuff. Mind Unveiled put out a video yesterday about Da Vinci's art and showing that the layers of paint and lacquer and that are like in the microns.
Exactly. And all like the Roman era and Sumerian era is nanotechnology, and that's what we're just starting to discover again.
It's been printed. It's like clearly, right?
Oh,
that means it's been printed.
Yeah.
No?
Well, unfortunately, the nanotechnology is being used against us instead of for good.
Definitely. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's aspects of it that are helping us, but I know there's aspects of it that are not.
Well, that gets into the Keshe Foundation and a lot of the plasma research work that he does that I've been learning over the years. And it's a good thing that like the colloidal water, the structured water that you make, so like the stuff that Mike was making there, Campbell, and the monatomic silver, copper, zinc ones that I make. And we'll do an episode on how to do that at home.
Definitely.
Away. But the plasma water, the fields of it wipes out the nanotechnology. Like it's all about field forces. So if you just have one tiny little one in you and it's not very active, it's like, yeah, it'll kill all the cells around it really efficiently. But like taking one big magnet to everything, it's like it'll swipe it all at once. Like I'm talking like field force interactions example there. But if you start drinking this water on the regular basis, it changes your field, like it replenishes it, so you can kind of picture it as like your aura, and that by drinking the silver gold plasma water into you, the plasma is the strongest field that you have, so you're replenishing it, so it just gets rid of all of your sicknesses. But where a lot of people go wrong, it's like you'll see people that turn blue or whatnot. It's like, no, you guys are actually poisoning yourselves. You took it too extreme, and that's why you die. You actually are absorbing the chunks of the metal, like whether it'll be copper, whether it'll be silver, gold. It's broken down. Those are where the plasma is monoatomic, so a single atom. Yeah, okay. The blue is it's when it's oxidized, so you have a copper, and then you have like 2 oxygens per
atom,
copper or gold or silver atom attached to it, and then you have about 10 or 15 of those then bonded and attached to themselves too. So it'd be like mono 100 or atom 100s or atom 1000s compared to your monoatomic plasma size, which is like your quanta size of 1. And so you're still getting the actual solid metal that gets caught in your body, and then you accumulate a bunch of it, then you're getting all of that poisoning, and that's how it collects over time, and it
in a
turns
different form still, isn't it?
Thousands, and that is your heavy metal poisoning, whether it's mercury, whether it's gold, whether it's copper, whether it's zinc, heavy metal. It's because you're ingesting, eating in large amounts of the physical size or solid amounts that are then solidly connecting to your flesh body that you're intaking, and that's going to kill you with the heavy metal poisoning. The plasma, it's the white one, and it's only one of them. And so that's like a cell on a cell level. And as it charges the water, so all the water you're taking in, it's got the plasma energy, but it's also got absorbed into it these monoatomic coppers or silvers. And it's that you're having like I guess like scientifically speaking, colloidal silver rates are at like 7 points per million, or like 25 points per million is really strong of actual silver particles dissolved in the water. So that's like 17 of those single white plasma states of your elements dissolved in that water that you then get into your body when you drink it. The monoatomic silver gold water that I'm making, because I'm using the pure gold that is accumulating in that plasma state, the pure silver, the pure copper, the pure zinc, that is the plasma. And then it is, when I charge my water every day, it only takes half a day for it to absorb into that water and be 1,000,000 parts per million that you're drinking in and taking in every day. And so that's how it truly like is the scientific understanding of how this stuff works, and how you're changed the water into the plasma state, and then how you're having plasma atoms interacting with your body cell living plasma atoms, and how it's on both the micro scale of each monoatomic atom of whatever the plasma it is you're bringing, or the solid plasmas that are so it's not a plasmoid, it's a solenoid of that would be like 100 copper or 1,000 copper, or if it's mercury, it's 1,000 mercury per chunk you're bringing in. And it's like you have the substrate at the bottom. That's in your monoatomic elements now, where it's either like dissolved in on the anode side, it's falling down, it's producing these blue pieces of copper oxide or lead oxide or gold oxide at the bottom. So that now is 1,000,000 per million of solid copper oxide, lead oxide, gold oxide. Or if it's the straight white single atom here, let me bring up.
So basically what the monoatomic, what you're doing is you're taking an oxygen molecule out of the equation. And so it's just a 1-for-1 atom with a proton or electron. Is that what it is? A molecule?
Here. That is what this is for. So that your one center atom, the white one in the middle, that is your one plasma atom, and that is the field force around it, and the hydrogen wave function. So white is pure plasma. The blue is the opposite inverse. Like cone coming out, right? I got to get the shapes to show you.
Welcome to Burn Eye Third Eye, the science guy without the bow tie.
Right? Alchemy lessons 101.
Hope you got your notebooks, kiddies.
Well, the good thing is that we're recording this, and it's like on your channel and both my channels forever on YouTube. And
It is.
six, right? And
So
Michelle, that's why
share
we
this.
have to
Yep.
broadcast these on your channel too. That then it's like legally on YouTube, people can watch these forever. And once we get into the millions and people are actually getting educated around the world, we'll be making money off the advertisements people are watching on it.
All right, definitely.
And
Hello,
another
Forever
thing-
Flat. Oh, sorry. I was going to say something and now I've completely forgotten. Oh yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we will, like Bernie said before, we will actually do a show where we show you how to actually set this all up, where to get the bits and pieces, and how to make your own monoatomic water, which you can also what do you call it, fractally tune into your body.
But you can also find it on YouTube under the Keshi Knowledge Seekers Workshops. And then there's...
And I'm just going to post Michelle's website again for anyone who didn't catch the last one. Piercing the Veil of Illusion. There you go.
So what's cool about what I'm doing right now, Michelle, is we connected through this picture right here, which is this is real images taken by the Sapphire Project, which is the Electric Universe team. And this is off of their Sapphire cold fusion producing anode. Okay, so it's one end of your circuit in a spark gap, like we've been talking with Mike Campbell. So you have an anode and a cathode. One end on what your negative side is your cathode. And if you have a bulb, and then it forms the electric spark into the arc, which is then creating plasma. And it's the electricity that is keeping whatever is in that plasma stream between those two, the anode and the cathode side in that spark gap. It's in that electricity, it's turning the air into plasma state. And that's how it's able to absorb the heat energy or the sound frequency or what, and it's the flame and the sound that comes out of the spark gap in the arc. So that's the conversion into the fourth dimension of existence, which is plasma and flame and plasma. And so what is cool is that gases are ionized gas, is what we call them scientifically, in plasma. And it's your northern lights, it's your arc lightning, anything like that. That is a noble gas, single monoatomic atom in plasma state. And Walter Russell, he discovered cold fusion in these vacuum tubes, but they're not vacuum tubes because they actually have one element of the noble gas in them. And then the current that you put through it turns that atom into that plasma state, but also in that harmonic frequency of that flow of energy that you're putting that sound into. And that's why I'm talking about the resonant frequency that you're putting into your anode or your cathode in this alchemy reaction is the resonant frequency of this atom or the state that you're putting on its frequency. So that's why you can get the same sound. Your own DNA is your sound frequency, and that is your resonant frequency. So that's what's so crazy about the anode cathode side of these electrolysis alchemy cold fusion reactions. It's the Keshi, he calls it the Keshi cup of life, but it's like, it's what I've decoded in the alchemy symbols as this electrolysis whole language and whatnot. But it's cold fusion, and lost my train of thought again because I got super stoned. But that's what happens is when I
So-
smoke weed and I
so
get super stoned.
Cold fusion is yeah, like we were talking
so
about
the resonant
yesterday.
frequency and your own resonant frequency
Right.
and the plasma state. So on your cathode side, if you put your own DNA into the water and you have it going through, it produces this white flake, which is the amino acid, which is a replica of your DNA in produced up in its monoatomic state. So when you add up the entire mass of every single atom that makes up in your minerals that make up the entire mass of your body, which is your DNA, then that's your harmonic frequency. But it's like,
and it's the perfect sort of structure as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's literally
like
in this jar of salt water that you're making at home. You're producing the God's code of your own healing frequency and access to your own body, sort of thing. And it's
like we were
that.
talking about entrainment yesterday.
So
when you put it in there, your body mimics it.
So for sound healing and the harmonic frequency, and it's like you can kill the royal rife and all of that stuff. For you're putting the sound of the disease through that frequency, and you put it into that plasma state through that spark gap.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the sound, and that's how you get tuned into your body, and that's how you're getting the frequency back into it. And so how this connects in real science, these are pictures of hydrogen waves in this different their atomic masses. And this is where I build my whole dimensional theory of relativity and different planes. And here you go, guys. The first plane is flat, but it is also a circle. All right, it is both. And your 10th dimension is the torus when it's all hooked up. So your 4th dimension, and I love this that I can finally
that's number 4. Yeah, number 4. Just quickly, in number 2, is that representing the two like molecules, the atom and like the monoatomic element?
That of
hydrogen,
the hydrogen wave formation.
So that's a hydrogen and an oxygen.
Hydrogen coming out of the state of plasma, turning into the state of solid, and it's between dimensions, right? Each atom, but you can also think of that as moments of time, fractals within fractals. How things fold into themselves and out of themselves into the good old
ether universe. So but that because that's basically got a spark gap.
Exactly. The spark gap
that's
how you tie into your
that's how you get into ether.
Yeah,
this is
so plasma is the 4th dimension. It is the higher dimension connection to the 5th and higher.
So I'm going to interject something real quick here, guys.
Please.
I'm gonna tie that to architecture.
Yes, exactly.
And when I saw Bernie playing around with this before we went live,
I knew that you instantly had this, and this is you are going to like.
Just
look at some of those guys.
Is it up? Is it up?
Oh yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
Got it.
So this is a church in Pittsburgh, but you can find it anywhere. So there's different types of cathedral windows. This shape, this arch is very common, and it does serve a purpose. But I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but when I look at these windows, I see these waveforms.
Exactly.
Right there.
I don't know. It might just be me.
And I was asking for the longest time, what's that shape? What's that shape? And there it is. Because you see it everywhere. And also when they stylize it to look like the clover, the 3 or 4 leaf clover, it's the same shape.
Oh, I know. I'm just keep on guessing because I'm gonna blow. Just you wait.
I stopped sharing my screen.
Sorry. Let's let Michelle talk. We keep butting in. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say. So there's that type of window with the waveforms, wave functions, but then there's also the solfeggio frequency windows. And
the round ones. Yep.
Right, the rose windows. So they're serving different functions, but those cathedrals are definitely doing a lot more than what we've been told. And then I'm gonna share one more time, because you can pretty much say the same thing about mosques. Mosques are doing the same kind of thing that cathedrals are doing.
And I think
this is
Bernie's mentioned before. Whoops, sorry, that those windows are basically standing scale or scalar antennas. Is that right, Bern?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a mosque in South China, in Sanya City. There's a very, very small Muslim population there. Like the Uyghurs in north central China, they're also being persecuted. And these
who
are
also have blue eyes and blonde hair, some of them, don't they?
Yeah. These are called the Utsul, the ones in Hainan. But they're a very ancient people also. So, again, they go after certain groups of people, but you can still see the Antiquitech on the mosques as well. And I know the sacred geometry. So, I just wanted to point out the architectural styles are different, but they're serving similar functions. And again, it's not anything like what
you nailed it. And it's
what
not
we've been taught.
Sacred geometry. It is higher dimensional fractal mathematics is what the actual subject and study is. And I will help you guys understand it a little bit more right here. And it's through Walter Russell's diagrams. And it is the octave system. And it's also Sir Isaac Newton's color octave system, and it's like Pythagoras's harmony of the spheres octave system, and it is also Pythagoras and one of Plato's Platonic solids octave system, and it's sound, color, wave formation, EM frequency field, octave conversion,
and geometry.
Yeah,
like we could also whack in the cymatics.
It is geometry. It is geometry, but it's exactly that. But it's the code of this geometry, and it's a fractal geometry that is connecting how light and what the color of the light and the wave of the light and the size wave of the light and the sound shape wave size of the light fold into each other, and where red is your infrared hot dense color material, and your blue purple is your super small fractal microwave ultra tiny mass. And see, so Campbell, like we were talking with Mike, the cold electricity, and that is like your blue purple plasma flame coming through the spark gap. So that is just the small amount in that micro film. And then with electricity, that all of our electricity, it's the infrared high energy electricity that we are running through all of our circuits, and that when it gets to our house, the electric company puts the red orange through our house and makes every single electronic use that red orange electricity, when in fact it's like all what they're probably putting through the lines is the blue purple electricity and not the green, yellow, red, orange spectrum wave of electricity or information or light or color or sound. And just putting that microwave blue purple through that then connects to one of these generators that then creates out of the iron that heavy red energy, yellow energy that is the densest amount converter, and through the radio waves, and then goes through the system that Like our LED lights are that blue purple. That's all the electricity it takes to make that light, because you're not putting out the heat or any of the resistance, right? Your amperage. And your amperage is the heat code. It is the heat code of how matter works, that frequency of it. So that's why through the Wi-Fi they're putting the microwaves, that is all the information, that they're not putting all that matter force of hot electricity and information through the circuit, or to broadcast it to each other. They're putting, and see, this has to do with how they put light through glass, the fibernetics cables.
Fiber optics, yep.
Fiber optics. I always wondered about that. So it's like, how come light is feeding through this pure, solid, dense matter, the light wave, and the information that's going through it? And that is your one harmony sphere of code of I guess that's light.
So that's got to be the blue. Now,
code.
Before you said something about
sound,
the cold fusion. Oh, sorry.
Cold fusion. So
before you said, and how there was only one molecule in each like vacuum tube or whatever it was.
So
now, does that mean that those molecules, when turned into plasma, are stretched so they can hit both sides of the tube and create a connection? Is that what's going on?
We need to go back to.
Sorry, everyone.
No, these are very good questions that we are figuring out together right now. So
yes, and I had another one which I will try and remember.
Michelle, can we bring up that picture again that you were sharing of the atom?
I was going to say as well, this cold fusion, or the cold energy, the blue spectrum, which you achieve once you get the spark gap, which basically brings the ether into it. Well, it seems to be the clean, shall we say, like non-leaky energy, whereas the high ones, they're just leaking radiation and stuff everywhere.
Let me show you the sacred geometry. It is all geometry, and it is geometry. Sorry, I'm gonna have to share this one first quickly, because. So it is all geometry, and it is the spectrum, and it is a circle.
Yeah.
That is your three dimensions: your sound, your color, your light, and I guess your color, colors. Like
frequency, is it in the middle?
Well, each one is a frequency. Each one is sound frequency, and its whole dimension in the spectrum of the circle, right? And then it's three frequencies of information, and the circumference is the outer shell of it. That is what makes up that atom, the one molecule. All right.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. This is fractal compression.
So, and it's when you have all of that information times all of that information times all of that information is the resonant frequency.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So basically, every color, let's just say like yellow, is a frequency, and it can express itself as yellow or or it can express as a certain tune or a certain geometric shape or whatever. And this picture we're looking at is showing that all those expressions are contained within the circumference of whatever that is, frequency or whatever. And so it can express itself in all of those different of what's contained inside it. But it's all the base same frequency. Does that make sense? Is that right?
And there's three types of frequency. Like Tesla always says, it's the code of like vibration, like resonance, so it's your sound, your light, and your.
What is it?
Okay.
What's he saying? That if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of.
There's three
frequency.
Phases of electricity, and it's three dimensions. And so it's like you have your in your wave, or is it two?
What's that saying that he says? If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of. what is it?
I get it.
Sound.
I get it. Okay.
Oh, here we
sorry.
go. Kappa, energy,
Sorry.
frequency, and vibration.
I
Thank
understand
you.
it now. So why it's 3? Because it's 3, 6, and 9. So it's the frequency of the light, the frequency of the sound makes up the when multiplied together, it makes up the frequency, or either multiplied or added, depending on what dimension you're going to calculate in it, but equals your third, which is the entire. So
what's on top? Because
so it's your resonance is the bigger one, the third
9.
circle. Yeah, 3, 6. So this is like your anode, your cathode, and your third dimension coming out of it,
which is the spark gap. And also, if you look at vortex-based mathematics, he talks about, 9 is basically the God number. It always equals itself, and below that you get the 6 and the 3, which rotate. Like 2 3s are 6, 2 6s are 12, 1 and 2 is 3, and they rotate. So it's like this.
Sound is magnetic, and it is a second dimension force. And light is one dimension, and it is so it's a gassy. It goes through gas. And then
and it only moves in one direction.
Resonance goes through solid, I guess, because it's a third dimensional state. But that's why your sound waves take shape in liquid, which is water. So that's why it's taking shape in that frequency. And it's when you're timesing different frequencies to get the waves of whether it's like in what spectrum of the color they are. It's also the actual physical size of them, and it's how they go through time. And
has anyone tried that? Has anyone tried like putting color on water and seeing if they get a fractal a geometric shape?
Color is a density, and color, I guess, yes, color is a third dimensional. That's one of the aspects. It's solid. It's a 3-dimensional solid.
Well, when you look at it, light can only travel in a straight line. Music or sound can travel any direction.
Exactly.
And color can actually stay on things. It can travel anywhere, but it can actually mark things as well.
Boom. So this is like you're going one way in the triangle. The first angle in the triangle, that is your light wave and anode frequency, and then that with the second one coming in is the cathode side frequency, and that is your sound or your liquid state frequency. So it's sound and magnetism. That is your magnetic frequency. And then those put together is the third, which is your resonant frequency. So that's one. Oh, so that's added together. So that's one side. 2 side that's added together, and then the 3 side is multiplied together, and that gives you your third dimensional properties, and it's your solid frequency. And in a 3-phase coming into the spark gap, that is 1 to ground, going to ground, because it is your third. You have to have it to solid earth. That is the third, how you get into the third dimension, and it's 1 going up into gas, connecting to gas, the radio wave that you have coming in frequency, going into that plasma tube, right? So here, I can explain this.
Yeah, tell us, are we making sense, guys?
So
I'm following along, but yeah, let us know if you've got any questions.
Well, we will begin to add.
What should I say? That we'll get 1 billion. What's the answer? They want to know the answer, Bernie.
It is whatever you make with it.
It's transition through a medium. It tells me giants are the globalists. Oh, it's not. Oh, what are we going? Oh, everyone's talking. Yeah, water. I like Aaron. Oh. Even Ken from C60 Purple Power talks about people that never stop growing for hundreds of years. Oh, what are you guys talking about?
Plasma technology.
Well, I mean, and this is like we were talking about the motors. When you're running a motor off the wrong frequency, the reds and things, it wears the motor down. It basically creates entropy, and you lose most of the energy as well in radiant, radiation. And so same as our bodies, if we're running on the right frequency, clearly our bodies won't break down as quickly. We'll live a lot longer. We'll be healthier. So it's.
I'm literally going to take you to higher dimensional understanding of reality and science.
What are you building there? Oh, I meant to mention too, for I'm watching, when we were talking about the monoatomic and adding DNA, that just means you touch it with your finger. It doesn't mean you have to cut bits off or anything.
So when you see can you see like the light when it lights up like that?
Yeah, do you want to can you make the picture big? You're still on small. If you stop, is that who's showing screen?
We need both. Here we go.
There's Michelle. I'm following this. Somebody is a little excited.
Okay, so this is two plasma tubes, right? Or one
fluorescent tubes, basically. Yeah. So vacuum tubes filled with some neon gas. Is that right?
So what type of gas? Neon is one type of gas, and exists in its monoatomic state, right? So in a single atom in its gaseous state, this is what it looks like. But when it's in a plasma state, it puts out light, connects to the fourth dimension. So, but you have to have one single solid atom of gas per plasma atom in this vacuum tube. But light frequency can get through this glass, and energy can transfer from this plasma through glass into this glass. And you have anodes and cathodes that go into these vacuum tubes. And that is your electric current and your and amperage, right? Your voltage and amperage, which is two frequencies combined on that circle chart again with your sound and your color, your magnetism and your electricity forces. And those gone, whatever gas you have in here is your monoatomic state that you're putting into it. And then you're putting your two waves of light and sound frequency that is electricity. One is amperage, one is voltage, going through these as the current that goes through these. And a spark gap, right, in any circuit. So this is like, this is a spark gap that is sealed off with one type of atom. So it turns into a plasma state. Plasma, that's how you pull energy out of. So how to pull energy out of the ether is you have to have a room full of monoatomic single atom in the plasma state, because that's fourth state of matter, and then to get energy out of it, it's got to be lit up and activated with that frequency in it, but sealed off in this full dimension of
So in that, the tube's basically the spark gap, yeah? Like you've got the anode cathode on the ends, and the tube is basically the gap, the spark gap, that whole tube.
Exactly. Yeah. And so everything that's within that whole area, its entire dimension, is resonating at the frequency of the anode cathode, like electrical sound current that you're putting into it, right? So that's why in the salt water, you can get any sort of solid transmutational results depending on what sort of frequency that you're putting in on it on either side. That's this alchemy. It's the basic information breaking down into the universe and recollecting into the universe, and that it's what dimensions things operate on, whether it's a one-dimensional disk plane informational moment of time that is like your book of time, right? Or your three-dimensional sphere that is that one molecule in that it can with we got to bring back that.
So basically, the light that we're seeing there, when you put that close to the plasma ball, is because the molecules, the gas molecules that are sitting inside that tube are changed into plasma, which is something that's connected with the ether and other dimensions, basically.
Exactly, and that you can control the frequency going in with the radio waves that you're broadcasting through the air with very little energy, and that is like your resonant wave, right? That you're connecting with, and it's the information, and it's just breaking in and breaking down into and out of the one-dimensional disk planes of reality, right? Like it's a disc, right? But it's a page in that book, but it has all the information on the page of that information on that outer shell of that frequency, whatever it is. And it's like the one, the two, where it is, the whole, and it has to do. It's the connection of Nassim Haramein's work and Keshe's work, and just how the universe fractally breaks down and back out into itself, and what alchemy,
it's like the hologram.
Alchemy is.
Every part of the whole is contained within each part.
Exactly, and that's and plasma is the connection and the breakdown and the breakthrough into these higher dimensional, like crystal or God, who even knows? I can't think past sixth dimension, right? Like, amazing that you can on that. But three dimension, fourth dimension is quantum, right? It's or consciousness through time. It's time travel, right? So it's your 3 dimensions of information right here. So your 1 dimension, your 2 dimension, and your 3 dimension breaking into itself or coming out of itself. And then it's the existence, it's you, it's your resonant frequency on that disk of information, right? It's your shade of color in your aura, or like or your essence, your resonant frequency. But it's like
so if we're in 3D, then we're in the color. Right? Is that right?
So we exist in the 3D, right? So that's like we're a closed triangle. We are a full consciousness of existence, a single solid atom of existence, right? We have our own existence in all of these, the good, the bad, the free will choice that we make and we write, that is the rest of the frequency that we are, that is the humanity that makes up the one side of the DNA strain, the second side of this DNA strain that makes this the human, and then the individual or the life form consciousness, and then the human that we write the story of, that closes the triangle, that goes back into the fractality of whatever the 4th or 5th dimensions are. And it's that that's how it's like circle within the circle of dimensions, the bubbles. But and how you everything connects through time, but is recorded through all time and exists through everything at all time. But talks I've done before that I need to do a full one of like the higher dimensional.
I think you need a chalkboard or a whiteboard behind you. When you have that light, you sort of turn into teacher Bernie. And Kappa says here, Bernard is sharing very profound wisdom. He's nothing short of a genius who can practically demonstrate what he knows theoretically. There you go, Bernie. Big praise, and I agree. Thanks, Kappa.
So you're saying I need one of these things, eh?
You what? Three faces of being. I was just wondering, if we're in 3D, like I was just thinking, like human, is that something to do with color? The color of man, and free. You were talking about the levels before.
Yeah.
But exactly. Also, should we check on Michelle and see? I know it's getting late there, Michelle. How are you going?
Yeah, Michelle's fading fast.
For sure. I will go through and we will make episodes more out of this. We'll replay topics and discuss more next time because I know that you are going to make
my bedtime.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want
thanks
to add or anything, or you good to go, or anything else you want to add, Michelle?
Basically this civilization that we talk about when we talk about all the mud flood and the hidden history and all of that, it was a genius civilization because it applied everything that Bernie's talking about. And that's what we've lost. We don't know we came from that. And so, that's the point that I would want to make is they had it built into everything. They had it built into the architecture, whether through sacred geometry or fractal mathematics. They knew what they were doing. And, we just have to remember them and remember what we're capable of.
Exactly. And it's that
Definitely.
it is all saved throughout space-time, and it's just a loop off of
which is something we can get into next time is the information that may be saved in the grid system, and then how sort of and what that's got to do with consciousness and how conscious it is.
Right. Just the power of synchronicities and how we how everything seems to connect at the right time for the right reason, even though it may not seem like it at the time. And it's just when you really start to tune into things, it's pretty amazing.
Sure is.
And there's no such thing as coincidence. I don't think.
No, there definitely
no.
is not.
Go read the Celestine Prophecies if you think there is. What are you doing?
And that book actually got mailed to me by somebody.
Right.
And that was long before I woke up. That was I want to say it was in 1994.
What was it? 80s, was it? Nice.
Well, I received the book in 1994 from somebody that I would consider a mentor. And she mailed me the Celestine Prophecies. I think she also mailed me Bringers of the Dawn, which is another interesting book.
Yeah,
and these were books that I'm reading this. I'm going, what? Because at that time it's like, well, this sounds interesting, but I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
He's crazy. Something feels right, but I don't know what he's talking about. But that was a huge one because before that book basically introduced there is no coincidences. So it was a big one. So there you go. But
actually, my funny story from that one was I had just moved to Alaska, and I read the book, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but the author talked about sending healing energy from your hands. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay. So I had just gone to where my uncle lived in Delta Junction, Alaska, and he had a greenhouse, and he had these little, sickly looking tomato plants in the greenhouse. And so I just read this in the book. So I'm there going like that over the plants. And he comes back to me later, like within a day or two, and he said, "What did you do to my plants?" Because they got better.
They got better, they did.
Some of the plasma water.
It's like, oh, well, I don't know.
I've got the power.
So I guess that was my first foray into like energy healing or something like that, which I know a lot more about now than I did in 94.
It is such a crazy advanced science of that has been passed through, and they essentially, I guess, they're creating or connecting back into the source, so it's alive forever information.
Yeah.
It is.
So
all right. Well,
anyway, I'm gonna go to bed. It's almost 12:30.
Dreams, and we will see you all in Dreamland until the next time we get together here.
Yeah, dream well, and I have contacted Paul, so next time we might have Paul Cook on board as well, guys, or if not, the one after. But yeah, thank you for your time, Michelle.
All right.
Dream well.
Thanks. I will.
Good night,
Good night, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Good night, everybody. All right. Take it easy.
Bye. See ya.
Bye-bye.
I don't know. Do you got a little bit of time here still, Campbell?
Yeah, I can go for a little bit more. I'm just going to run to the toilet quickly, and my
Exactly.
cat's
So we'll do
screaming
like
at
a
me.
10-minute break. It'll keep streaming.
Let's see if I've got what have I got? I'll see if I've got anything I can put on.
Yes, please do. And my God, I know that like Michelle is going to just, especially with the atom waveguide in the cathedrals and the sound, and that so the sound in a piano, the organ coming out, that's your organ sound, resonant frequency of your organ sound, and going through that glass. Why is that glass pane the same symbol as that atom, single hydrogen atom, going through plasma dimensions, breaking into multiple dimensions, the shape of it as it breaks through the color sound of the produced by the organ going out, and it's blasted through the resonant frequency shape of the hydrogen atom, so it's breaking that sound coming out at the shape of the atomic monoatomic level that connects between your wave and your particle, and that is the sound magnetism breaking into your light with the light, or combining, so that is your magnetism frequency with your sound frequency with your light frequency and your color frequency combined. I guess that would be that then produce the solid or the plasma that is all the anode, cathode, your with the voltage and the current, and once again, so what I have up right now, all of those shades of color within the wheel. So each section of that spectrum, right, is that number in the frequency that breaks into the shape of your three circles that are the circumferences of the three circles of so there's the color chart, and then the for what will then fractally break down the information that when you're putting it into the cold fusion reaction, or the radio frequency reaction into your radio waves through that go through the air, go through solid, go through outer space, and they're in the X-ray, this coming out of that fractal, right? And it's that they break down, and then when they connect up, it's chunks of your DNA that the three of them break down into your amino acid, and that is what is being produced in this electrolysis reaction. And it's just higher dimensional atomic color sound unified theory of everything mathematics that everybody knows. But Campbell, I will let you play a little something. We will be back in 10 minutes, and there will be a little bit more.
What have I got here? All right, let's get this going. This is just one of my short videos. It's about a year old, so a lot of you probably haven't seen it. That's my cat screaming at me in the background.
Hello, kitty. Oh, hello, kitty. Even my Hello Kitty has a third eye.
Oh, yeah. It does. Where that one? Okay. Is that right? Have I got the screen?
The domain app has property listing.
Is that screen up? No.
Oh,
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, guys, back in 5. Oh, there we go.
The sound. No.
Oh, sorry, guys. Can you not see that? How come you can't see my screen? What's going on? Are you there, Bernie?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did you take the screen over? Sorry. Okay, I'll stop mine. Did my screen work? I came back in and couldn't see it. Did anyone see that? How are we going?
It was, but the sound wasn't working, so I changed it because the
Oh,
sound
you
wasn't
turned
working.
it off. Okay. Sorry, guys. If you want to see that, it's the first ever video on my Auto 2 channel. I recommend you all go and have a look, but not now, after the stream, of course.
So I
How?
spent that time setting up this little diagram thingy. So that's a couple of Walter Russell things, but that's the fractals of color breaking down into the keynotes of actual key frequencies that are on organs that are then going into the octave system that are then broken down. And this is the actual pictures of hydrogen wave function color dimension breakdown into plasma. So like it's a conversion of this sacred geometry with these scientific sacred geometries. And then the one that you had to put in this picture, Campbell, there of different elements being broken down by their atomic masses, those are keys of colors that are sections of those frequencies that were break down into the fractals of the fractals of the fractals. If you want to open a screen though and share it, I'm still gonna need 10 minutes, but I'll let you or 5 minutes here.
All right, I might have a chat with the peeps.
Exactly.
I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go. So,
And then
all righty.
we can also, Campbell, I think you'll have access to this, or regardless, I'll give you access that you can. We'll work together
share
and break
screen, yeah.
down into smaller episodes, though, and then also use it to like do a next. Well, like chop up the parts with Michelle to like use on the next video we do, and then also do one edited video like just of that sort of thing, and then
we'll do
these
some
ones
thoughts,
up. Sorry, do the one of just Michelle, and then chop up these parts for the next one that we do together with Michelle on certain parts, and then I'll do one on just the Walter Russell color fractal stuff. But that's how we actually first connected. Me and Michelle was through me presenting this hydrogen wave function one, and the other Walter Russell archways octave systems. And it's like they're just sound key frequencies that are certain dimensions that get put into my electrolysis, alchem, electrochemistry in the saltwater reactions. That is, but that's the story for another day. It's that Michelle took this information, and these are all actual scientific charts, and then was able to connect them to all of her work with the macro circuitry of the earth, and also with the cathedrals and how it's a like the cathode inside of one of the domes, and like that'll be the discussion when we have. It'll be Paul and three of us and four of us next time, because he's got a lot of the alchemy pictures and works of the different domes with all the symbols and the metals that are on the groundwork, I guess you'd say.
Cool. All righty. All right, so who have we got here? Oh, thank you, Kappa, for posting my other channel. Rawhide. It's everyone's obligation and duty for humanity. Hello, Bex. I agree. Stuart Rogers. Hello, Laurie. Hello. Walter Russell. Yes. Smart man. I don't get my wisdom, which you all are missing out on from a perspective above human. Oh, I don't get my wisdom. It's moving too quickly from a perspective above human. Leslie, hi. Oh, hi. It must be above. I'm not sure what you mean there. Sorry. Weed and caffeine is common around here. Well, there you go. Daryl G. Where are you? Yes, yes. Thanks, Kappa. Yes, I have 3 channels. I may have another channel that's been kicked off YouTube, but is on BitChute. We're just sort of getting that organized. We're going to relaunch that on YouTube, and we're getting it up on Telegram as well. And we'll just have to put nice stuff, YouTube friendly. But yeah, they don't like what we say on the Instant Karma Project on YouTube. Sweeps Harriet, hello. Fiery Nessa, Soul Power. Paint with Light. Well, that's a very cool name. Did I feed Kitty? Yes, I did, Hippie Shake. Yes, my 21-year-old feline friend, who's deaf, and so she's very, very, very loud. She just sits at my door screaming. How do I say that? Retinue Retsno M96. You know who you are. I recommend Spiral's videos on what is prayer, above 10 minutes duration, but very informative and to the point. Well, thank you very much. I think being human is a superpower. I agree, Sweeps Harriet. But I think the thing is that at the moment we're not, fully human. We're not at our potential. We can be a lot more and do a lot more than we currently are, and that's without the fact that we're being dumbed down in everything, right? Food, water, medication, education, politics, everything. Just describe mums minus the screaming. Oh, who was that, Aaron? You may be down under, but this conversation is pretty high. Oh, thank you, Sean Dworkin. Aaron Corbett, more human than human. Odyssey is better. Yeah, Odyssey. Yeah, they're just still both going through growing pains. I'm having real trouble just uploading to BitChute, and also to Odyssey too. Most of my uploads just fail, and I have to do them 5 or 6 times. But at least Odyssey's good. Well, automatically uploads my autodidactic videos, but because they're not, maybe I'll have to start compressing them for YouTube, because when they go to Odyssey, they don't, they skip. The golden ratio, the nature is a big part of it. Indeed, Bex, the golden ratio, 1 to 1.614, is that correct? The golden ratio, and that's, you can see, it's also called the beauty ratio by some, because the closer you have to that ratio in your face, apparently the more beautiful you're perceived as. And so it means if this is 1, if this is 1, then should be 1.16, and everything should, sort of all these different proportions, length of your arms, everything. And it's also Fibonacci, which is how trees grow, and they grow that way so that no branch ever grows on top of each other, so that they can always get the maximum sunlight. So yeah, it's all a blueprint. There's a blueprint to this place. There's a formula, which is of course what we're talking about. Mad Pie Man 3, 6, and 9. Yes. Rodin, Marco Rodin, and Vortex Maths is very interesting, especially if you're into numbers and the 3, 6, and 9. All other species. Oops, where'd that go? Always trying to steal our lucky charm because of that. Oh, sorry, I'm getting in the middle of your conversation. In the dawn of the light, from the dark of the night, go deep within and know your light. Thank you, Tommy G Poetry. Well, there you go. I think you just proved your name correct. Very nice. Leslie refuses to be a limited human, and I agree. We should all. And I saw a video. Can't remember his surname. That guy from Canada, Chris, with the neck tat. And yeah, it was called The Most Important Word We Need to Know. And at the moment, it's no. It's a strong word. We can say no. We don't have to comply to anything. We're sovereign. We're the power. We're the ones that this creation was made. We're part of this creation. It has to be low quality, so they play on Odyssey. Yeah, yep. I know, Cal. I'm getting there. I need an offsider, man. There's a lot of work, especially when you got to upload to like 3 and 4 platforms, and you got to compress things and
Oh yeah.
Modern archive. My superpower is superpower.
Campbell.
No, I'm kidding. It's curiosity.
Next
agree,
time we will also have this streaming to so it'll be like Michelle's as well as your Odyssey we can do.
Odyssey, yep.
We can set that up. And
Yep,
then,
and Rumble as well. Rumble I find at the moment is the best.
Okay,
it seems to have the most servers or something. Runs the smoothest, but yeah, we'll get that up. I've even got a Facebook page that.
This is broadcasting to my Facebook right now. This is broadcasting to 2 of my Facebook channels right now.
Oh, there you go. So I don't think I hardly get on Facebook. So I'm sorry to everyone who's because I got on and saw there was like 1 million messages the other day. And
the last time I went onto Facebook, I just lipped off and said I was gonna spit on some chick that is actually she's a community leader, but she's for the Black Lives Matter, and she was probably there's a rumor that she was putting a list together to get people banned that wanted to do a rave in the woods while it was still COVID or something like that. And literally I just said freaking spit on her if I saw her or something and it's I don't mean it at all. She's a super nice person, and then after that I saw something about the very, very legitimate cause that I spoke up in support of but it says all lives matter, and it's by the First Nations about all the new graves they found of the raped and tortured abused children and stuff that they found. And I was see, and I made another post at the same time idiotically see, this is something that isn't racist that I could support. And I literally created the outrage. There was 40,000 people signed a petition that I can no longer against me being a vendor at Shambhala again because of that. And it's just what? Okay.
Hate speech.
So now it's okay, guys, well, here's 3 hours of us both breaking down sacred geometry and ancient knowledge and
Bernie's back with a vengeance.
Spectrum of the flat earth and circular worlds. That
yes,
they are both. You see, one is the disc plane perspective, and you need 3 of those 3 captured discs, those 3 informations to add up to make a triangle to get your full volume. And then you have to also have 1 more disc that is us existing now in our consciousness, that is us, that then connects to the ether sort of thing. And it's to understand this more.
Spark gap potential thing is just seems to be the crux of all of this.
Yeah, well, the spark gap is where you are able to control the sound frequency going into it, the electric current energies on both of them on sides. You're controlling that energy. And then if you have it in one of these plasma tubes where it's going, you're controlling all 3 of those going into it, then on a monatomic scale, you're able to control all that matter nuclearly, or to go do what literally access anything within the higher and lower dimensional dimensions of everything. You can send yourself through it if you have
exactly. That'd be time travel. Yeah. I mean, it's the same as what I talk about a lot in Spiral Up. Is I talk about the gap in thinking. Between the judgment of right or wrong. You need to build that gap in between so you can think. And it's the same concept. It's the same, everything's the same, isn't it? It's just everything's just one. And I mean, and that's the biggest thing they use against us. They try and split everything up and say, no, it's all different. It's all different, but it's not really.
Is to destroy that. Any chance of anyone figuring it out?
Indeed. And thank you, Hippie Shake, who says, congratulations on my new channel collaboration with UAP. And that's, I forgot, I might have another channel, which is called Alt World Research. If you haven't checked that out, go and check it out. I'll have to put a link somewhere on my channel.
I seen that. That is some good stuff there you got.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Trying to get some good hard factual evidence out there, and yeah, sort of get back to basics a bit.
He does really good work with that, man. Like
he does. He did all the editing. I can't put my hand up for that. He did all the music. He's just one of those guys who's pretty much split
like his
left brain and
breakdown
right
of like
brain.
the silver pictures and like the micro pictures and then the processors and the what's it called, the little tiny chip thingies, and like that they're in the silver picture, like can't think of all the words right now, but his episode on the origins of film, and then the different how you do film imprints that create computer tiny processor, what's the frick, there's the transistors, micro transistors.
Because he's a mechanical engineer. He's like fully qualified.
I know, like, that's why I'm saying, like, I love his work, like it,
and
really good shit.
Yeah, but he's also so creative. Like he just does these videos that he just full on art. They're basically just art, and it's like, so he's really balanced. He's, you know, which is why he's obviously so awesome. You know, if you haven't heard of UAP, you must go and check him out. Dougie, our friend Douglas.
He is an unidentified aerial phenomenon for sure.
He is, yeah. So, you know, if you see something flying through the air, checking out old buildings and giving a mechanical engineer sort of review on them, it could be Douglas, the UAP.
And it's
thank you, Callum. Callum just posted the link for F1 to everyone. Thank you, Callum. Oh, and also I was going to say, Verni, that little plasma chamber that you got there coming out of a beer bottle, you obviously built that?
No, this is actually my Polish friend brought it over to me from Poland when he brought it himself from Poland, but then gave it to me because he's like, Bernie, I just, as amazing as this thing is that I owned, it's just you. It needs to be with you. I hate myself. But here you go. And I was like, thank you, Jakob.
Nice. So can we? How easy is something like that to make?
Well, it's like any like plasma ball that you can get at like Spencer's or anything. So it's a Tesla coil going up into it, and then it is a vacuum or gas chamber sort of thing. So there's actual gas in here. That it's no different than one of these vacuum tubes. But why there's why it comes back down like that and not through the other way is because it's a closed system going back in on one end of the current, like being cut off into the plasma reaction sort of thing.
So is it a monopole or mono?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check that out. Mike will know. Like, let's ask this to Mike. He'll fully explain it more. But it's that...
Get Mike to make one.
So in these fluorescent bulb tubes, and that Walter Russell got his is known. It's recorded with whatever company it was. He worked with Tesla there, the big electric one that has Tesla's patent still. He was getting all these cold fusion transmutations in the early 1900s. And why?
Like General Electric, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah. Or something House, maybe.
Westinghouse, was it? It was Westinghouse.
Yeah. I think they're the ones that have Walter Russell's original work still in vault of all the pure like cold fusion, real transmutation, but you're changing atom per atom of mass, atomic mass, that the whatever is in this tube into one solid state of mass fusion by this cold fusion process, and it's the same within the seawater on what you're producing on this transmutation processes. And it's that when you have something in a plasma state, that fourth dimension matter, that is then activated with your the resonant frequency of the plasma connection, or that extra dimension of DNA into plasma, or just if whatever your intent is, to whatever level of insane future space technology that you want to reproduce, but to the simple mathematical states of ancient alchemy. And literally, if the three symbol or charts here that are actual, one is of real pictures of plasma, of hydrogen, like one full purest of monoatomic elements, of all elements. This is atomic hydrogen. That is what is being produced in this electrolysis alchemy reaction. That it's as simple as having a copper sheet, like ghetto bagged as battery as you could imagine, but I think those were actually far more advanced. We just are only beginning to figure it out now. But the Keshi cup of life, or this alchemy anode side, or the cathode side, the one metal you have, the other metal that you have, and wires connecting both sides, that it does start creating electrolysis, and small amounts of this pure atomic hydrogen is being produced in that. And if you have your own DNA in there, it's going to be producing yours too. It's a little bit slower. Or if you put a small current to it, you have this little tiny jar. Anybody in any situation, no matter where they are in the world, can do this and advance themselves in their health, in their protection against health issues, and potentially, who knows,
electricity too.
Oh, exactly. And that's why I started researching the Keshi and doing the experiments myself. And I encourage everybody to watch the YouTube videos, because there's literally millions of people doing it throughout Africa, throughout Asia, and throughout all parts of the world. Like, they have there's a Keshi foundation, constant knowledge seekers lessons going on in every single language every week. And it's like, just do the work yourself. It's so simple, but like it's so much more too, because his cup of life is also the same Baghdad battery, but not nearly as advanced, or like the Sumerian, the Egyptian, the everything else. And this crazy ancient language, the pictographic language of alchemy and alchemy symbols. It's like, it is the God code, but like, or the intelligence or consciousness or structured universe. I don't know, but
the instructions
exactly,
to the blueprint.
It's the instruction man. There you go. It's the instruction manuals to the universe, and it's the only language that is the first language that we have of our oldest text that's dug up and dated anywhere. Every time it's like, oh, look, they have the same alchemy symbols in these whatever it means, and lost languages. And then the next one, it's like every single actively used through every society throughout history, and still used in the occultist elitist societies that are alive today. Why is that?
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
So there must be something to
it. Exactly right. You know, it's like Tim Minchin said in one of his songs or performances, in a song, what does he say? You know, basically things don't persist if they're not true. You know, like, so all these stories and legends, you know, they're not going to last for thousands or even hundreds of years if there's no basis to them.
Right.
What are we looking at there? Are we looking at a bottle, and that plasma is literally coming from being created from a different dimension, like, and being brought into existence, pretty much?
So, yeah, well, plasma is a state of matter, but it's a state of energy throughout that entire matter, and it is the break in and the breakdown of into
So
the between. It's this go-between zone between
the
our
transfer.
third-dimensional existence on this planet Earth, that is the third sphere from the sun, the third ring out, where we are
Sorry.
3D
Yeah.
consciousnesses, and plasma is that fourth that breaks into the ether and like in between, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it's
So
all lightning. They see lots of like Dan Winters does really good work on understanding plasma and what it is, and stuff like that.
and that's what that picture was, right? That was plasma saying everything's plasma is the outer ring, and then every other form is contained within that, or every other expression.
So right here again, right? We're looking at it again. So
one
full dimension is one full white.
We haven't got the circle. We got the keys.
The what?
We've got the keys and the plasma. Oh, is that what you mean? The plasma on the side with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
On the left side,
on
the
left,
hydrogen wave
yep.
there. So one full one, that's one white monoatomic single atom of, and so these are higher mass dimension pure plasma elements. So that's why monoatomic gold, if you're eating it, that's your pure plasma of like the most highest grade ever, right? And so you got the colloidal water that I'm drinking, this monoatomic gold, silver, copper, zinc, colloidal million for million in the water, right? That what I have now is a million per million per million plasma gold mass per mass energy you're entering in when you're ingesting pure monoatomic gold, as opposed to water that is two of those triangle plasma like water frequencies, and then the one of the gold. And we lost Campbell. So right here, the 1 and the 2 and the 3, it's like it's higher dimensional mathematics of understanding color, sound, magnetism, light, and the ancients understood it. Walter Russell, Tesla understood it. So the
sorry,
thing,
I dropped out of it.
Is all good. The thing is like Walter Russell, Tesla, like all of them from that generation, the really brilliant ones, they all understood this. Like the more I go through of Walter Russell stuff time and time again, it's like this is the code of the universe. You just have to understand it, or if you are seeing it, understanding what it's saying but not accepting it, well, you got to get over yourself and your own spiritual consciousness and cognitive dissonance and move on, right? It's like, but people that with metaphysics as well, it's like that's higher dimensional physics, and if you're understanding all of the physics of it that it's saying and just can't believe it's true because you yourself can't accept it, that like you're failing at karma, you're failing at life, and you need to stop and pause, or I won't see you next time, but a lot of other sheeple will. So but yeah, so this one right
and this
here
is the thing about compartmentalism too, isn't it? It's like there's no holistic, is that what we call it, sort of science people anymore. They're all compartmentalized into one little whole, so they don't see the big picture, so they don't make the connections. So when people say, oh, that wouldn't work, well, of course, because they don't have the information saying, what do you mean? Of course it works. Look at all the connections.
Exactly.
And so you have all these, so-called educated people running around thinking that they're telling truth, and they're just spreading crap.
Right? You
don't
nailed
see
it.
properly.
And that's how I had someone like prescribing me fucking 1880 milligram opiate death pills a day. That was my most trusted medical professional that, has authority over you because they've done 8 years of paid ridiculous amounts of money to whatever, thought they knew what they were doing, and made me a heroin addict times 10 because it was synthesized and that much stronger, and I should have been dead, but I only ate it, and thank God I never did too much, even though that was far too much. And I've been off of it for 2.5 years.
You know, if you go through heroin and come out the other side, it's the hero in, right?
Yeah, it's like, thank God I only ever ate it in pill form, though. And
yeah, well, yeah, because you actually get addicted to the physical prick.
Yeah, right. And I've never done that, and thank God. And that's putting into your plasma stream a pure substance. That substance. Okay, so this actually is the highest dimension of science and physics and everything, and drugs and waveforms and color, and putting a pure monoatomic of substance that is fentanyl, which is a synthesized so it's a million per million. Your poppy seed, right? Poppy seed milk that has it has codeine, it has morphine, and then it has one more or something like it. And then it's like those are then refined from like 1 part per million in the milk to 1 million parts per million of it, and then refined. But that's in the solids, right? So it's really only 1 million of, or one of these colloidal sort of things, one dissolved per million, and then 2 gaps missing, right? And then it's like, so you're taking the natural form that is like 1 in a million of a million of a million that you're putting into you, and from like that would be like smoking weed, and then by injecting heroin into your blood, that's 1 million of a million, or sorry, not heroin would probably be like 10,000 of a million and a million and a million into your blood.
Okay.
Fentanyl is 1 million of a million of a million into your blood. Like, it's ridiculous. That's why,
exactly. Yeah, it is.
I don't think there'd be any coming back from that.
And Walking Axel, hello, Walking Axel. No.
Yes, ketamine has travel effects.
I know which one am I? I've seen that cartoon.
Psychedelics are how you get your consciousness sideways, and you shift realities, or you shift in and out into the what do they call it in Stranger Things? The upside down. But that's where the 1D plane comes in, is because it's your conscious disc. This is your consciousness, and then your go sideways into the ether, and that's how you connect in and out. And it's how the astral projectors do it. It's how I've
heard that you can sideways, don't go up or down.
When you're on ley lines, these energy lines of consciousness, that's exponentially taking it up, right? And it's like when you're meditating and you do it, you get to the level of the like yogi master, right? That you can do it anywhere, conscious, out of body, and then like I bet some of those people still in Tibet, like the few, or like in India, like the crazy ones over there, probably still like they've been alive for stories of years. I believe there's probably at least 10 humans somewhere on this planet that have been alive for at least 1,000 years, if not thousands of years. Or because they find some of those Buddhists that are like
stories.
They're
in the hills of old yogis being in caves for like 500 years. Oh, sorry, I'm talking over you again.
Oh, good, but those are legends, right? It's like
you fill in yourself. Are we having internet issues? I don't know what we're doing.
Monoatomic gold.
Oh.
Who? Where? Are you there? We're back.
Oh, am I back? All right. What was I going to say before? Something that was really interesting. Who have we got here? Aaron Corbett, I believe, when you're not sitting here defending yourself in human form, Leslie. Okay, I'm jumping into people's conversations again. Hello, Curtis, how you going? Yeah, walking Axel,
All
which
right,
one am
I'm
I?
going to be back
I'm
in 5
thinking
minutes.
I'm the brain.
Oh, yes.
Yep. No worries. Raising one's vibrational frequency gets you into a higher conscious state. You just know things with
Bingo.
inert wisdom and is superior human knowledge. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. I always say, why would you work in the physical trying to get things done? Because, the spiritual always trumps the physical, or whatever you want to call that, the all.
Right? The karmatic law, the imprint on your soul. Death before dishonor.
Yeah, exactly. Because, and this is the other thing, is death. Like they twist everything. I mean, it's a good thing to
soul is immortal.
Think about what you think death is. Is it a exactly like? Yeah,
right. That one, like,
I don't think we die.
Always had the saying that if you truly understand physics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one state to another. That it's like your soul, your spirit is like your electric charge into your ever eternal soul, that it's just going from one dimension to another, but your soul is immortal. Like, you cannot, that light cannot end, like that consciousness will keep going on, and that you exist in the higher dimension fractal that is of that torus, right? That, like, there's the universe that is everything, that is all of source and all of life and all of stuff, and then it's like on like the fifth dimension, or this around Earth, probably like this glow. See, like over here you got the glow space-time, and that orange and purple that is around the Earth, that is like the Akashic record, or your ancestors' consciousness, and that you're connecting back in, and you can connect to source, that is the ground, that is Gaia, or you can connect to above, that is the collective consciousness, that is the Akashic records, that is the everything.
And what would happen when you did that, right? You'd create two poles, or the cathode and the anode, and the spark
source
gap in between.
Source will flow
and then
you, right?
Yeah, activated source, exactly, in the ether. So everything,
so, like, you don't know how many times it took me to like be connected to that knowledge, like, and trying to write it down, and then like you look at it after you've slept and it's all worn off, and it's like, man, I just wrote I am crazy trying to explain this in this dimension again. I am just crazy, I am crazy, like, it's like, no, you can't have a full connected consciousness in two places at the same time. Like, it's a funny thing, but yes, it's pulling pieces back at a time and slowly getting the picture.
I mean, you can and you can't. It's almost like stretching. It's sort of doing a gap, right? The spark gap, the potential. Once you create the 2 points that can spark, you create what we call the plasma, the ether, the other dimensions, and then you can, whatever, travel the dimensions, remote view, you can, talk to different beings. You can, because if time doesn't exist and we're in different planes at once, then you could connect to those other
He will be right back. Good thing I didn't leave yet for my smoke break. I will leave once Campbell does return. There he is. Device is not connected. They will need to connect their mic cam beforehand. All right, 1 more second for the Campbell. So the toroid in the top left corner there that is now exposed, that is the rodent coil 3-phase, and that is a resonant frequency like your antenna to the ground from atmosphere into the ground Gaia. And then it is your anode voltage and your cathode current. So that is the 3 codes, and it's the red, blue, green. That is why it is those 3 colors, because that is the 3 frequencies. That is your 3, 6, and 9. Your 3, 9. Oh yeah, I just figured that out. So it's a red. Red is hot. Ooh, blue, cold. Green would be your 6, and then your hot is your 9. There we go. 3, 6, 9. It is the 3, the 6, and the 9. That is boom, 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 going through the donut torus. And that's how that color spectrum equals that color spectrum. It's amazing. Oh, that is some higher dimensional, fully understanding the everything. And as I was mumbling that out loud, I probably sounded crazy because I was talking to myself. But anywho, we will have Campbell back in a second.
Am I back? Sorry, today. It's 3.5. So can you hear me? Am I still tripping?
I'm muted. For next time, or do you
anyone?
Ethernet cord that you can plug into your actual router for next time, or no? Too far away from where you are.
Hello.
Hello. Is it Campbell? Red, blue, yeah. So it's why you have the red, blue, green spectrum. That has to do with fiber optics and your 3 frequencies, your 3, 6, and 9 in your vortex mathematics. It's your 3-phase current, and it's your red hot, which is one frequency going through the ground
Am
to
I
the.
back yet?
Yes, you are. You're back. Bip, bip. Bip, bip, bip. Bip. Bip, bip. Bip. Bip.
Okay.
Bip. I'm going to finally be able to finish this and make sense of it all. 3 codes breaking down into the overall frequency. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. 5 years till we're on the Star Trek Enterprise, guys. Just kidding. We are waiting on Campbell. He's here, but it says device not connected. I'm just going to go for a smoke break, so please let Campbell know when he gets back. Campbell, if you need to restart your computer, I will be back in 5 minutes, and then I will be able to actually connect the 3 lines, the 3 dimensions, your anode, your cathode, and your ground, and make it all make sense, and how plasma, monoatomics, and hydrogen wave function with your color geometry spectrum, wave-like spectrum, is the fusion equation of God, basically. Be right back. All right. Well, I am going to do a 10-minute break, and then I am going to come back and I am going to sum up a few things so that Campbell will be able to edit some of the nonsenseness out of, well, this all out of nowhere and into something that is tangible and will make sense to everybody everywhere one day. Hopefully. It's making sense when it connects to in the dots in the head, and then I'm figuring out how I can present and what I can present and say to make it make sense and comprehensible to others when we get back. Yeah, we're just gonna call it a night. Actually, love you all.